Hey everybody, welcome to the Game Trailers E3 2013 Awards Game of the Show special. I am Brandon Jones, the founder and voice of GameTrailers.com. I'm joined by...
Kyle Bosman.
What is your title?
My title's weird. It's associate creative producer. Anyway, I do the Final Bosman and other shows.
And we are here to talk about E3 and wrap up all of our E3 coverage. E3 was last week, and we are still going through everything. And E3 is really interesting because we kind of need a week. We need some time to kind of assess everything that's happened. It's impossible for one person to absorb everything from E3. So we're going to be bringing in pretty much everybody from the editorial staff. Unfortunately, Ryan Stevens is on vacation, so he will not be joining us. But we're going to be bringing in everybody else to talk about different genres, the awards we've already given out, their favorite picks from the show, and of course, leading up to the big award of Game of the Show.
It was a huge E3.
Yeah, it was really big.
Just intensely good games this year.
Which is why we've kind of changed around our E3 coverage. We're doing it bigger and better than before. So because it was such a huge E3, and so I'm going to introduce our editorial members for the first part here. We have at the end Mr. Daniel Bloodworth,
hey,
and Mr. Rob Slusser.
Hello.
And let's get started with your picks. Daniel, what was your favorite thing from E3?
Well, for me, I was one of the lucky few that got to sit in on the Witcher 3 presentation. So just getting to see them actually be able to fully realize an open world environment. That was kind of one of my few criticisms from the past couple of games is that that chapter structure, and it's like you have to do all your side quests before you move on to the next part of the story and that sort of thing. And just how well that they've done that, the lighting and shading and everything, and the way that they'll introduce a side quest by like you're talking to someone in the main quest and somebody else will come running up with an emergency, and it's not, I'm sure that there will still be like things on a signboard, but it's not, everything that constitutes a side quest.
When you said one of the lucky few, what does that mean? How many people were you in a room with who were watching this thing?
Oh, I mean, the room probably had 20, 25 seats at a time. But, like we all have appointments and busy schedules. So, I think there's only like 2 or 3 of us from the whole team that were able to actually go and see The Witcher 3.
And when you're in a room of 20 people who are all professionals, are you all very cool as amazing things are happening on the screen? Or do you go like, oh!
I think it depends on the group. You don't know like who you're going to be with, right?
What was your group like?
My group, my group, it was kind of weird. There wasn't even a full room for our session. Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of even skipped over some things because they were running behind. But it was pretty cool in that room. There wasn't a lot of like huge clapping or anything.
Okay.
And I just wanted to ask you guys, you didn't get the memo about the suit and the tie?
No, I don't think I would have been able to really have addressed that anyways.
Okay. We try to make a special event. We try to make this big thing.
Hey, I don't always wear something with a button on it.
Just so.
At least we got some buttons. Right.
I actually don't own a suit. I have one tie.
Well, we need to start there. Yeah, there should probably realistic expectations. Mr. Slusser, what was your E3 like? What did you check out?
One of the really interesting things was the console war between Sony and Microsoft. I thought that was amazing.
Slightly interesting.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Made a couple headlines.
But for me, the big thing was the huge amount of games that we got to see this year. I mean, some E3s, you see a couple of games, but generally it's a lot of yawning. This year we got a whole menu of great games to look forward to.
Yeah, a lot of games that we don't really know anything about, like Sunset Overdrive is kind of one.
So many,
like,
so many 2014.
Whatever that's going to be.
Black
Mad
Tusk
Max
Studios.
Yeah.
It's like a spinning bullet
could
game.
give that like
what it is.
some kind of a like working title. I don't know.
So any one title in particular that you like more than others?
There are some really great ones. Destiny, I'm really excited about. Division, really excited about. But for me, the one that really made me say wow was Titanfall. Love FPSs, a lot of people do, and something really new and different in the FPS world, that's awesome.
So between the PC and what's Titanfall coming out on everything, or is it just
no,
next gen,
it's PC, Xbox 360, and Xbox One.
Oh, okay. So out of those options, what do you think you'll be playing Titanfall on?
Hopefully PC.
Okay.
I've got a new PC rig, and hopefully I can crank it way up and really play just mouse keyboard. Really do well on it.
That was the thing I realized last night too. Is like, oh, I'm gonna have to upgrade my PC too because I have all my Witcher save files, and I'm gonna kind of like Mass Effect. Like you want to continue that story, and the way you made those choices. And it's like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to get a new PC for Witcher 3 for sure.
And does that stuff carry over? Getting back to Witcher 3 and its awesomeness. Do those decisions carry over? Character death and stuff.
I think some of them will because there were decisions from Witcher 1 that carried over to like the last parts of the Witcher 2. So even though they're trying to make it so that anyone can jump into Witcher 3, I think they'll probably have things there for longtime fans.
I'm going to thread hijack and go back to Titanfall.
Do it.
Okay, hijack. Let's talk about it.
The really cool thing about it is there's an asymmetric gameplay going on there. Ever since Star Control and the Sega Genesis, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've heard you
Absolutely not.
mention Star
Explain it.
Control
I
on several
love that.
occasions.
The great thing about Star Control, asymmetric gameplay. You'd have two completely different ships, two completely different play styles, but they still fight against each other really well. It wasn't a rock, paper, scissors thing. It was about skill and knowing how to control your ship. Hopefully, Titanfall is going to be the same thing. You've got pilots who are running around, basically people with guns, and then you have these giant mechs running around. And the maps are kind of on two different scales. You've got the roads and you've got buildings, and so that way both sizes of opponents can run around freely. But the really great thing is the Titans, the mechs, they're kind of objectives and weapons all in one. It hopefully, if they do it right, it'll be really interesting.
Do you wish the game had a single-player campaign?
Not really. I mean, for me, the single-player campaign for games like that, like Call of Duty or something like that, it's really almost like a tutorial for the main campaign. It's just, getting to know how to use the weapons and stuff like that.
Also,
Kinda
the
something
world
to do
is
on
ending
board.
and you have to save it. It's not
Yeah.
just like a tutorial. There's like a cool thing going
Story
on.
schmory, Kyle. Jeez.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, I don't know. Like having a context for that. Like actually, when we're talking about a game like Titanfall, I'm kind of reminded of Starhawk. And that's
Oh, that was, yeah.
that story mode. I didn't really get a lot out of that. It felt like the story mode and the multiplayer were really very different things, just like in the way that you played.
I think we're going to get a lot of really good replays out of Titanfall. Actually, one of the most exciting things I'm looking forward to in the next gen is the whole video capturing service that both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One will allow you to just like, oh, that was amazing, I got to get that. And I think that's really great. Obviously recording things isn't like the newest technology that we've had. Like obviously, we've based our business off that. But just being able to do that anytime, like having 24/7 that always to be an option. I just imagine between the, like being on foot and being in your mechs and kind of, back and forth, I imagine there can be a lot of interesting possibilities to do things in shooters that we've never seen. And certainly the guys that made the game, didn't conceive of happening.
Yeah, I don't see myself, though, watching other people's awesome clips that often.
You will
know
when
what
I send them to you, Kyle.
I look at it, yeah, like, okay, nice job, Brandon, and then I'll keep moving on.
I just think that's not a part of culture. Like, you're not used to people being like, oh, here's this cool clip of something I did, because we don't have that technology. But like, when we actually, trust me, there are just things, there are some shots I made of Red Dead Redemption, I'm like, no one will ever know. No one will ever know
Right.
an amazing shot that I
Yeah,
just
and I think
made.
it's the fact that you can do those things after you've done them. You don't have to have like this crystal ball that like something cool's about to happen when you
Right.
push record. I was actually pretty surprised Mario Kart 8 is doing that as well on the Wii U. You can
I didn't hear that.
yeah, you can upload video clips to Miiverse. I mean, that's like crazy talk.
For Nintendo, yeah, that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
But I can't think of a lot of instances I've had in a Mario Kart game where I'd be like, you guys gotta see this. Because they're all the same. It's all you just happen to win at the last second.
No, it'll be like just somebody will put together a montage of all the times they got blue shelled right at the line.
But I think between friends, I mean, if you really have a competitive group, that one win that you had, like, that could last, forever, like memories like that. So it's just nice to
This
have
is
it.
something you find exciting about the next gen.
I think it's really interesting, yeah. And like I said, just to have it always around. I think if something's like an opt-in, like the Kinect, then like not a lot of people are going to adopt to it. But that's just built into the hardware, and it's super easy. You just need to like hit a button, and it's already there. I see that really blowing up. I mean, you see how many people are posting stuff now to YouTube and
Or on Twitch, yeah.
to game trailers and Twitch and everything. And if that's that much easier, I think it's like this big now, and I think just that's going to explode in the future. Just everyone's going to have their own channel. Everybody's going to have kind of like your Facebook page. Like everyone's going to have their own video channel now.
Yeah.
It's the future. It's the next gen.
To me, I don't believe you can add too much personality to those little video clips.
Yeah, and well, I actually, they did more work on that at the Xbox press conference than I thought they were going to, by actually like putting the tag of the logo in the
you're
beginning
right,
and
yeah, the little
voiceover
Killer
and
Instinct video,
like links to social and stuff like that. So I wonder how all that's set up.
It
But
might be fun.
interesting. Maybe not something that'll blow up right away. But so anything else, gents, before we move on?
I wish that they had let me play Infamous. I've been a fan of that series, and I got to see that the gameplay demo that they put out. But it's a little different than getting your hands on it. I feel like there's a lot of open world games this year, and I think that may be one of the reasons that they had things walled off from journalists actually playing, because they don't want somebody to wander off into a place that's not finished yet. So.
Right.
Actually, that's one of my questions. I was going to name The Division as my favorite game. but I didn't really see enough about it. My big worry was, because I love open world games, is it really open world, or is it back of the box bullet point open world?
It seemed pretty open world. I mean, you could, walk up to a map and then see like where there were things happening, and then go off in that direction and group up with people there. They talked about that there are group objectives that aren't really on the map, that like you only will see them if you're exploring and you come across them. So yeah, I think it's going to be a truly open world place.
Because if it is, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And you were a fan of Infamous. You actually wrote a pop block that we're going to be putting up next week for that gameplay trailer. So is that one, did you like it showing at E3?
I did. It looks like we've got a new protagonist, we've got a new setting, we got new powers and all sorts of fun stuff. One of the things I liked about Infamous, not just the gameplay, but some of the writing was actually really good. You don't find much really great writing in video games, and it looks like this story is going to be even better than Infamous 1 and 2.
So you can, based on the first two games, I didn't play the first two, you can kind of gauge where the story's going with this new character. And
I don't know. I feel like there's a different tone, honestly.
it seems really playful. It doesn't like, I don't know where the stakes are. That's one thing just from an outside perspective. I don't
Yeah,
really
I mean,
know,
to
like,
me,
who's
it
the
actually
enemy
feels
in
like a
this
little
game.
bit more dour, and maybe that's just because of the reveal at the PlayStation meeting. Is like, oh, everyone's oppressed and things like that. But I don't know. It should definitely be cool. I like to see that they're bringing more elements of destruction into it.
Well, one of the great things about the story of the first, especially the second Infamous game, was how it was really dark in places, but in places it was also really funny too. And they did a great job of balancing those two out. It actually has one of the best between mission cutscenes ever. Basically, there's just two people drinking beers, and that's what advances the story between missions, between two of the missions.
It's like
awesome.
it's like the Avengers with shawarma. When it works, it works. It's all about pace. So let's move on. As long as we got you here, Daniel. Obviously, we got to talk about racing.
Yeah.
Because if something racing comes through game trailers, you're stuck with it whether you like it or not. So you have a unique perspective from playing as many games as you have. So what did you like from E3 in the racing department?
Yeah, I actually, on Wednesday, I kind of made it my mission to go out on the show floor and play what I thought were all the racing games. I did miss Ridge Racer Driftopia, wherever that was.
Forget it.
As soon as
No,
you
we're
guys-
done. The segment's over. Forget it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I played.
Outside.
I played.
They were outside. with the
Okay.
booth, yeah.
Yeah, I played 6 different racing games. I played Mario Kart. I played Drive Club. I played Forza, Gran Turismo, The Crew. There's another one I can't remember right off the top of my head. And Need for Speed.
Right.
Yeah. And I actually have a longer piece that's going up next week as well about all of them. But it's interesting to because when we talk about Best of E3, a lot of times that comes down not to like what we expect the game to actually be. It comes down to what they're showing. What is the demo like? What is the impressions? And sometimes racing game demos are pretty boring. I mean, both Forza and Gran Turismo is like,
Especially Gran
pick
Turismo.
a car
Yeah.
and drive around the track, and there's no other AI, and there's nothing else interesting going on, and you have 5 minutes. And then when that 5 minutes is up, out, next group come in. And so like, that's not very fun. Like, I don't get a lot of chance in there to really judge how the physics have changed, especially since I am playing a bunch of racing games back to back, so I can't think of, I just played Gran Turismo 5 and then now I'm playing Gran Turismo 6. It's like, no, I've just played The Crew, which has sloppy freaking handling,
Right.
and I'm sliding all over the place. So of course Gran Turismo 6 is going to feel better than that.
Out of the ways that they actually displayed the games, like the comfiness of the chairs you're sitting in, to how the lines were distributed, what was your favorite game as far as like that's games should show that way at E3?
Well, it was behind closed doors, so it's a little bit not fair. But the demo they had for Need for Speed, I thought was the best demo. They had they gave a presentation to kind of give you an idea like what the game was about, and then they had one side of the room as racers and the other side of the room as cops. And then everyone was competing, and then at the end, there was a winner on each side. And so that was
The best racer, best cop? Is that what
Yeah.
you mean? Cool.
and so that was a fun way to like really get a feel of like how this multiplayer is going to work out, and how it all like is mixed together, like as you go through areas where other players are, they kind of transition into your world.
Right. See, that seems way more fun than like watching the Just Dance dancers do like the same routine day after day over and over and over again.
They had
like,
several different routines.
I'd love to see that. It kind of reminds
Yeah.
me of like the old Daytona setups. At like Dave and Buster's. They have like 6 cars set up. Like that'd be a really fun thing to watch. And I'm sure they could get people that would line up.
Yeah, I
all day
mean,
to play.
they already had the spectacle of Battlefield out on the floor, but it would have been nice for them to have had a stage where people could watch while they're waiting in line, something like that.
Like Lords of Shadow had like 20 different monitors playing that game.
Oh,
It
that was
like
cool,
something
yeah.
like Forza. I would think like 4 maybe. All playing
Yeah.
like the same race would be kind of fun. So interesting how those games are perceived at E3. So what other racing games did you like? Did I cut you off, Rob? Sorry.
Well, for me, when I play a racing game, I crash a lot. And so, which game has the best crash?
So does Jimmy
That's what I
Fallon
want.
apparently.
Well, I mean, Need for Speed again, like that's all about using weapons and spike strips and things like that. So
Best crashes.
yeah, it's I don't know if it'll have the best crashes, but it's gonna have the most emphasis on them, I think. The crew did crashing as well, but anyone see like at the end of the demo, like after you like tackle the car and then it kind of like awkwardly flips back
Yeah,
up. It
yeah.
was so it was kind of weird. It's like, yeah, we beat it and now it's gonna go off and do its thing.
Yeah, this game's a little silly, is what that meant to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mario Kart. I mean, definitely the one of these is not like the other of the group, which I thought looked gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
finally a Wii U game that.
Yeah,
Like you made
easily
a
the
great
best.
comment about the 3DS world. You're like, I want to go in that world. Like those
Yeah.
those environments look better than anything else, any other environments that they showed. So
I think I think what is interesting about the Wii U lineup is that a lot of people have been talking about is like, is it next gen or not next gen? Like, we know it's not as powerful as the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, but a lot of those games, they seem to be running at like a true 1080p 60 frames per second, which is something that we haven't actually gotten a lot of on the current crop of consoles. So kind of by default, like a lot of these games just look better.
People want to know how hyped you are for a next-gen Dirt game.
I'm pretty hyped. Yeah, I mean, I want to finally see some terrain deformation. Like put some ruts in the road. People have tried to do that. Like Sega Rally did that a few years back, and it was okay, but it still looked kind of weird. Like it was just like you could tell it was like a polygon mesh getting struck down. So to be able to have like more interaction with the surface itself would be cool.
What is that? Sorry, because I don't know what that would do.
Like
to a
putting
game.
an actual rut in the road, like as you drive over the road.
Like your car would bump over it as it's trying to.
Yeah, not just bumping, but like you're actually carving out the road as you're driving through
Oh,
it.
so you do multiple laps, like the road chain. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, they've done that in some dirt bike games as well, but it still has a way to evolve.
Cool.
I'm sad that the crew you were saying doesn't play good because that looked really really interesting to me, especially the map. It looked like they kind of have like a shrunken United States
Yeah.
that you can go through.
Yeah,
And,
well, a lot of the ideas are cool, and the concept is cool. It's just it's a matter of like the actual handling of the game.
Which
is
I
a bit
don't play a
sloppy.
lot of racing games, but I would imagine is pretty paramount in reviewing
Yeah.
a game and giving it a score. So
Yeah, and it's like you can be
bummer.
arcadey, right? Like Need for Speed isn't, it's not like a simulation or anything like
Right.
that in any way. But you still want to have tight controls one way or the other, so you feel like you're in control of the car.
Sweet. Oh, one more thing. What?
In Forza 5, apparently they're getting rid of the AI and they're replacing it with ghosts from your friends and all that.
Drivatars.
Yeah,
Drivatars, yeah.
Drivatars.
What do you think of that? Do you think that's something that's ready for prime time, or do you think that you'd like to have an option to go back to normal AIs?
I think we'll have to see. I mean, I didn't get to go against the Drivatar when I was playing. Again, it was like just me on the track. I would say getting rid of AI is probably a bit of a false statement. Because you're not getting rid of AI, you're training AI.
You're changing
And AI
it.
is learning how an individual kind of behaves. So you still have AI, you just
how
have
would you
AI
know?
with a name
It's
attached
like
to it.
if Kyle Bosman jumped on the track and cut me off, I'd be like, wait, that's not how Kyle Bosman would cut me off. This tech isn't working. Like, how would you know if that was actually mirroring their behaviors or not?
Well,
Right.
my
Based on skill or I don't know.
My Drivatar would not finish the race. That's how you know.
I've seen that pole crash before. That's clearly Rob Slusser.
Yeah, and I think I didn't really talk about Drive Club, so just real quick, I feel like the Drive Club demo should have been more like the Need for Speed demo, because I didn't feel like I got that sense of like a community interaction. I was, there were sections where you could see like as you went through a challenge, because they had different parts of the track broken up to have challenges like drift challenges and speed challenges and things like that. And so there are spots where you could see how you were doing against your friends, but not like really like a sense of, okay, here's a group of us and we're going to go out and do something cool.
Right. That's a bummer. I bet something like that's kind of tricky to show at
Yeah.
E3 and really get that point across in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Are you willing to nominate a best racing game of E3?
Of E3, I will say Need for Speed Rivals.
Oh, there it is. Balloons.
Need for Speed Rivals, best of E3 racing.
Yeah. Actually, I would have not thought when I went into
For
the
viewers
show.
at home, that is how ceremonious it is whenever we announce one. It's like, what is that? It's that one? Okay. The next one. So, yeah, there we go. Confetti, sparklers, fireworks, Need for Speed. And unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to you, Rob, because we do have to bring in other people.
You're kicking me out?
I'm kicking you out. I'm giving you the boot. I wish this was remote control. Was that the old show where they would do the switch and then people would go flying out?
Oh, you want a seat?
I wish I could do that, but I can't, so you actually have to do it. Do we have any social questions of note? You and I are going to be exhausted by the time this is over. There's so many games to talk about.
I should mention, actually, to everyone who loves Twitter to use the hashtag GTLive.
Of course.
If you want to tweet about this thing that's happening right now. Also, if you want to just chat in the Twitch box, that's also very fun. We get some silly stuff in there.
And we can totally get to all your questions because we have tons of time, and
Well,
there's
actually,
a lot to talk about.
Because there's
And
a ton. It's actually
every single question. And it's really important just because there's so many things. I mean, the challenge, half of the challenge in picking E3 awards is figuring out which game was better than what based on what we saw, and the other half the challenge is remembering every single game that's there and what's actually playable and what's not based on everyone's experience. So your comments will help us out. If there's anything that we miss, anything we're not talking about, please let us know. And as if by magic, we are
Brandon.
joined now by Justin Spear, who's joining the crew. We'll kick things off in your segment by what was your favorite game of the show?
I think we were scheduled for some light banter first, so maybe we should. No, that's okay.
that said, please wear a suit, jacket, and tie.
That is a lie. Now you're making jokes at my expense.
We are, yeah.
But this is all light banter, so it's cool.
It worked.
Keeping it light.
So we've lost our background, but that's okay. We're prepared for that.
We have another one.
It's we've lost signal. I
We,
think I
we,
assume
st-
the
we,
laptop
st-
fell asleep.
we still have signals. We still have signals, damn it. So Justin, what would you like? What was best of the show? for you?
Everyone liked Titanfall. I also like Titanfall. I think it looks like a really good action game, not just a good shooter. I think they've really focused on gameplay on that. I really would have loved to have played it, but just seeing the live demo was also pretty cool.
It
What
feels
kind- What kind of multiplayer games do you play, Justin?
Multiplayer only. I
Yeah.
don't.
But like Titanfall, you're into.
Oh, Magic. Does Magic count?
Yeah,
Yes,
Magic
Magic.
definitely counts. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Low
need a-
scenario, you did.
You can play against AI button. Yeah,
We have our
Chris has
background
slid in. Yeah. But I don't want to focus on Titanfall too much, I guess. Everyone loves Titanfall. Everyone loves Witcher. They're both great games. I also had a chance to play Dragon's Crown at the show with 3 other people.
Cool.
Just some of our own dudes. I think it's really cool to see a game there where it's not necessarily trying to make millions and millions of dollars. It's kind of a team that's making the game they want to make. I'm a big fan of old beat 'em ups. I think it's the genre kind of gets a bum rap for being just totally simplistic, but there's really something to it. Beating people up in a nice, cool way, hanging out with your buddies.
Especially multiplayer.
Yeah, the multiplayer aspect, the teaming up. The game has beautiful art, so. I like to try to check out at least a few smaller games in addition to being.
Which character do you like the most out of that game?
When I picked up the controller, a dwarf was attached to the controller, so he's
So
like.
you played on
kinda-
PS3 and not on.
It was it was on PS3. So threw some people around as a dwarf. I think all the characters look great. It's a really cool looking game, nice aesthetic.
So that's the one when you're finally playing with your friends and you've bought it, you'll just wait to see what they pick their characters, and you're like, oh, I'll just be that one. It doesn't matter to you who you pick, is what you're saying.
I don't know. Well, I wouldn't say that.
Then who do you want? Who's your character? Let's say you get dibs. Let's say you've drawn straws and you get the.
I get
Justin's a fan of
dibs.
definitive.
Well,
answers,
the cool thing, yeah, that's true. But the cool thing about this game is there are different palettes for the characters. So actually, you can have 2 people. You can have 4 dwarfs,
Which would
2
be
elves,
so cool,
and
yeah.
an
Yeah.
Amazon
Imagine
or
a
whatever.
game about 4 dwarves fighting together.
Every
Yeah,
time
you
you
can-
say
There's a game
dwarf,
about
though, I
3
keep
dwarves
going
that's
back to
pretty good.
Golden Axe. It's like it makes me think of Golden
Yeah,
Axe.
dwarves are good at beating up other fantasy races, I guess.
And it's interesting when you said it was fun because it's made by people who want to make games that are fun, that enjoy playing these games, and that's the vibe I get going back to Titanfall. That it clearly seems like a game that these guys play all the time because they love it. Like they made this game because they're like, we want to play it, and nobody's going to make a game like this, so we have to make it. And I think that really comes through. I think when you play games like that, where you can really feel the excitement around the developers creating the game.
Yeah, I guess those guys did get a chance to, let's what are we good at?
Yeah.
Let's do that. No one's going to tell them what kind of game to make. So
Do you have a Vita?
I think it's pretty
Are you
brilliant.
gonna be playing it on PS3?
I don't have a Vita. No. So probably PS3 for Dragon's Crown.
If you were to want to play
You
it.
can. I think you can take your save across if you want to do that. They have a cross save feature.
They
so
do
you
have
can-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
You can quest on one and then move over to the other.
Unless you don't own a Vita, and then you won't be doing a whole lot of that.
I have a question for you, Justin.
All right.
At E3, watching the press conferences, or even on the show floor, did anything like get you excited? You seem like a very leveled person at all times, even on like we're live right now, and you're still very level.
That's true.
Did anything like make you yell? Or, you know?
I don't think it made me yell. I thought Titanfall looked really good.
Yeah. So that was
I
your
mean,
thing.
I'm
that,
genuinely excited about it. I can
Cool.
tell, looking at it, I'm like, this game would be really, really fun to play, Their trailer, actually the CG trailer was actually kind of boring.
Yeah.
You're like, what's this? But watching the game and trying to think about, playing it, how does this mechanics work? I'm going to uppercut a guy out of his cockpit and then, blast him with a railgun. It appeals to me, so.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, what was the other game that was like that was The Division, right? Like that trailer was awful. It was like, what is this? When is this going to end?
Ubisoft-
Like,
Ubisoft
this
loves that.
corporation
Yeah.
is taking money.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
The Watch Dogs actually got a very similar intro. I wonder if
Yeah.
Ubisoft is kind of like jumping on that strategy of like you get the trailer before, and it was a nightmare for me because I was watching live trying to like write down a list of all these new announcements. I'm like, Dark Winter? Is it never? What?
Oh, yeah, what
there
is
were all
the
these
game?
titles that kept
Yeah.
popping up that could have been the actual thing. Good game though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like once they start playing, it's like, oh, this actually looks really cool. Just wish you hadn't spoiled it with that stupid trailer at the beginning.
Right.
This is fun. We got a Twitter question.
Oh boy.
Does Microsoft win E3 if they had announced no DRM/news games restrictions during their press conference, even with their price? Do you think they would have had a better E3 if they just did that then?
They would have had a better E3.
They wouldn't have
Yeah.
won E3.
Yeah.
No way.
Why do you say? Why do you say would not have won?
I think what the way I like to think about Microsoft and Sony is if it reminds me of T-ball, and basically Microsoft like just went out and they put the ball on the tee, and then Sony was like, okay, and then it came out, and like that happened before that happened before Monday. I mean that happened
Yeah.
way before that happened at their announcement and through the,
Were they
all the
swinging
weeks
at their
after
own
the
ball
press
and missing?
conference.
Is that what was happening? Were they whiffing with the
I
wiffle
think
bat?
possibly, but it really felt like they just kind of stepped away from the microphone, and Sony was like, okay, we'll do this then because we can, and it's very simple.
Yeah.
It's like just crazy that 4 slides had more impact than any trailer anybody showed that entire day. Just
That was
those
the
4,
largest human
just those
reaction,
4
yeah.
slides. Yeah, that clip got a lot of playback during our live feed for sure. But yeah, I mean they would have had a better E3, but. I don't think there was a good or bad time to make the announcement that Microsoft made. I think that was a good thing for them to do, and it probably would have had the equal reaction from the community, no matter if it would have been yesterday or the day after E3 or
Never
whatever.
probably would have been the best
Never
time.
would
to
have
do
Never
that.
would have. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably would have had a great E3 if they never did that.
So we actually have you on board to talk about role-playing games as well, and it actually says, if I were to officially go by the rundown, RPGs and beyond.
Oh, beyond.
I don't know what beyond,
Beyond.
encompassed.
We'll start with RPGs and we can take it beyond.
Yeah,
Let's see how
I
much
don't know
time-
that
I
any of us
assume
really wanna talk
Knack I
much
think
about
lies
Beyond.
beyond.
That's definitely a beyond game. Yeah.
Oh, Beyond Two Souls is beyond. That's that's
Oh, that
RPGs
one.
and Beyond Two. So
Yeah.
We
can
must
type
talk
out.
about Beyond Two Souls.
So RPGs. What? And you're an RPG fan as well. You were
Right.
talking about The Witcher earlier. Other than The Witcher, what?
Well, first
and-
off, I'm upset I didn't get to see the Witcher demo.
No.
Yeah.
Well-
I would rather just talk about
You
Witcher
didn't
this
get
entire
invited to
time.
that small
not-
room. Apparently, there were open seats in Daniel Bloodworth's room.
He should have told me. Now,
Yeah.
we're all busy going around, so we don't
Yeah.
get to see or play everything we want.
Was that something you actively tried to go do and couldn't do? You're like knocking on the door and they didn't let you in, or?
I mean, I didn't have a chunk of time to carve out for it. It would have been cool to see, 'cause to hear Daniel and I think Chris also saw the demo, to hear them talk about it, it's just really exciting. It
Yeah.
seems like an amazing game, and reading the preview articles, they have so many big promises. They're going to make like the ultimate open world RPG, and it sounds like they might be doing it. So
Yeah, one thing I thought was funny is, I mean, obviously this is a world that they didn't exactly create. It exists in fiction already. But Skellige has such a resemblance to Skyrim that it's almost as if they created this demo to show off the game for the first time and say, hey, look how much better this looks than Skyrim.
Let's focus on snow. Lots of snow in our demo. Snow and dragons.
Yeah, it's a kind of like these Viking-ish kind of settings, yeah. Final Fantasy 15. Does anyone know what's going on in that gameplay? It looks really cool.
I think the gameplay, I guess it's kind of Kingdom Hearts flavored, or they did if only Mike were here, the Vita game they only released in Japan, I guess, with the
Oh,
school
right.
setting. Is
Type
it
Zero?
Jito or? Yeah, Type Zero. Yeah, Jito is a mobile game.
Directed by that guy.
Yeah, co-directed by the same guy. So I think a lot of the combat ideas you see in there, and honestly, this game doesn't. It's not the most RPG-y. It's a very JRPG looking RPG, I guess.
There actually
but,
wasn't a lot of combat. There was a lot of climbing. There was a lot of like, I'm going to throw my sword and I'm
There
just
was a
going to
lot of
jump over
combat.
there. There's just a lot more running and climbing, I thought, in the one they showed at the press conference.
Oh, the one is there was another one later that
Yeah,
had
there's
like,
another
that
one
one,
where
yeah,
they're
that-
fighting
that's
fighting some
combat in it,
behemoths, setting them on fire. It looks pretty good. Visually it looks good.
They have like beautiful cat faces, the behemoths. Which is the big cat eyes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think they're so cool.
some of the shots of them look like they really weird. Like,
Yeah.
hey, how are you?
Now, I got to say, I'm really bummed that it was switched to Final Fantasy 15. I don't necessarily think there's any rush to call it 15, and it just, with them fixing, Final Fantasy 14 and pretending like, oh, there were no problems, we're just making another game. It's like, no, you're clearly like making up for past mistakes. It just seems like what, every announcement from Square Enix seems to have that vibe to it. It's like, oh, finally Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh, I guess we'll just call this 15. And oh, hey, here's our MMO. It seems like every decision, just it loses the impact because it's not something that was foretold and was made to happen. This is the way everything's happening. Kind of like The Witcher. It's like these guys are making the game as fast as they possibly can, whereas something clearly went wrong in the development of Versus 13 that we'll never hear about and they'll never talk about. And just
Right.
kind of pretend that like, oh, we meant for it to be a totally different game, and then 15 later. So, am I the only person? I guess it's just me.
Yeah,
that really
I think
bothers
you
me.
gotta let it go. I think
that's
you
our
gotta-
mode of business.
Yeah. I think when you think of that game as a game, you're gonna have to let the history of it go behind.
But the history's there. You can just forget history. Is that the?
When you're in this
get
world,
told
when
that
you're
a
in the
lot.
game world, you know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
you forget the history outside of it, I feel like.
I'm also kind of bummed. It'll be the first core Final Fantasy entry where you don't have a party. It looks like you're just him.
You got
Who
buddies.
knows? Who
you got
knows?
buddies
I
who
don't know
like
if
you
that's
give
the
high fives
first.
to, and then they'll kill a guy for you.
Oh, okay.
And then they'll set up a thing, and then that guy throws a sword onto the behemoth, and then you kind of like run up and shoot your guns. It's
Yeah, they had they had a party.
You got a
going
little
on.
party,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's kind of like extra, like in Marvel vs. Capcom, like that kind of just extra people you can.
I mean, like I said, I don't know how the
can
gameplay
bring it.
actually
It might be
works.
too early
I
to
mean, I'm
call.
It's a
watching
little
it
too
and I'm
early to
like,
call.
what is he doing? Like, how much is he controlling the character and how much is he selecting commands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People want to hear us talk about Dark Souls 2. Well, not me in particular, but
You went up against the Mirror Knight, right?
Yeah, a lot of people in editorial ended up in
Pretty much the whole
the Dark
team
Souls
was in the
demo
booth.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Including
And
Miguel,
nothing to
who is
talk
no
about.
longer on the team.
so do you
it's great.
count it? Do you count it as
Actually
an
did a-
RPG? Would you call a game like an RPG?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I suppose I honestly just think of it as Dark Souls though.
Yeah, like it is.
because
Yeah, that's true.
so many games incorporate these kind of elements. It is really an action game. Sure, I think you level things up. You didn't in the demo though. In the demo, it's all about it's combat and you either kill or you be killed.
So somebody told me an
lot of
interesting
both.
thing that you win a T-shirt for beating this demo, and only one person did it.
I think part of it is the business nature of E3. If only we had more time.
Oh, so it's a time demo at the same time.
Patrick, well, it's people behind you start to get, upset because they want to play Dark Souls also. And, Patrick got pretty close. I had the Mirror Knight below half. I was playing the dual swordsman. I didn't quite get a handle, I think, on how this new, they changed the dual wielding combat a bit. So I didn't quite get a handle on it. I wish I could have gone back with Temple Knight. But yeah, it's certainly, the challenge is still apparent in
What
that
did
game.
you say when You Died appeared?
It didn't appear. Or if it did, I was just hitting X to go ahead and
So
get back
you-
in there
you
to
weren't
try to
like,
get.
Oh,
in my
I
head.
lost. You were just like ready to see more.
I was like, I'm gonna take another crack at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not willing to accept defeat until
You
we
didn't
just
get
had to
that
walk.
t-shirt?
We just had to walk away. So
Yeah.
Yeah. The crazy thing about the Mirror Knight, right, is that it like summons another player to come through the mirror, right?
yeah, if it's online, other players will actually be jumping into your game through the shield of the Mirror Knight, and the demo is just some mean NPCs, I guess. Use a really gamey term.
Yeah.
Some computer-controlled dudes coming in there to make your battle a little more difficult. But yeah, I mean the game looks pretty. I think it's pretty reassuring for Souls fans. The game still looks good. It
Right,
still
those
looks
things
like
like that
Souls.
is like why we call Dark Souls its
Whoa.
own thing.
Whoa.
Wires. There are
Yeah,
wires all
there's some
beneath us.
wires.
Something just attacked somebody? What's going on?
Yeah,
Did I miss
Justin's
that?
leg hit the wire.
Studio mice. Where there's mice in the studio.
Yeah, exactly. Frogs. So I'm not a Dark Souls fan. So
Yeah, they come. Yeah, they come.
if what about me?
Yeah.
Can I not be a Dark Souls fan?
You can.
You
You
just
don't
need
have
to play
proudly
more. It's
announce
okay.
it. I think.
That's my only problem is that I have like 8 hours of playing. It's not enough.
You don't say it like you're ashamed. You say like I'm proud of not being a Dark Souls fan.
So what other than it just being more Dark Souls is really exciting about Dark Souls 2? Like, what did you see that you're like, oh, well, they're doing that. Interesting. Or is it just like, more Dark Souls, like getting back in a jacuzzi again? Just like,
we actually
again, Dark Souls returns. Just that?
yeah.
That's it?
The jacuzzi analogy, I don't know. It's
Well, it's
strange
just
to me.
we nominated for the game of the show, and every other thing I can on that list, I'm like, oh, they clearly are doing this crazy thing with next gen, or this crazy thing that the previous game didn't do. And Dark Souls 2, from what I've heard, is just more Dark Souls. So is that it? Is that all it needs to do, or is there a specific thing?
You know, I think it's kind of unfair for any game at E3 to say, okay, this is your your tiny bit of time at E3. Prove that you're going to be the best game ever. You know, we kind of, with Witcher and Titanfall, these are new games. They're so new. We're willing to, stretch our imaginations a little bit and say, wow, look at the potential. This could be so great. This could be so great. Dark Souls, kind of a known quantity, but still pretty good. They are changing the combat. They are changing some things. They have a few new ideas, but, it's kind of an optimistic wait-and-see thing. For fans already,
Why do you?
they know.
Sorry, I got two questions.
Let's do it.
What console was it shown on, or PC? What was it shown on?
It's
Demoed
PS3.
on? Demoed on PS3. Why do you think it's not coming out until March of next year?
I guess that's the release date they've chosen for it. I don't.
But like such a game where you say nothing's really that different. Like, is it just?
Well, it's not. It's not using the same whatever for the other game. Making a new game takes time. I don't think there's anything. Obviously, they want to look at it, and they're doing some things differently. The parries and riposts and backstabs work differently. The combat has a bit of a different feel.
Brandon's original question.
It's
right
true.
now.
We did an entire mini podcast on the E3 stuff for Dark Souls 2. So I don't want to just sit here and get through all the same stuff. But
okay.
yeah, but to make a long story short, the game is looking pretty good. Souls fans should be excited. Other people that don't play Dark Souls yet should play Dark Souls in anticipation of Dark Souls 2.
Dragon Age 3 is also an RPG. That was just announced.
I feel sorry for those guys. I feel
but,
like Witcher 3, they're like, open world looks so good, and they're like, ooh, we're open world too. And their trailer was really not that impressive. I find their world to be like hopelessly generic. Maybe they can turn it around, but
like no hope. Meaning there is no hope for Dragon Age 3. The genericness cannot be solved. It's inherent.
Maybe in 3, but judging from the trailer, it looks pretty similar.
The weird thing they dropped.
I'm not saying
3,
it's going to be a bad game.
right? It's no longer Dragon Age 3.
Oh, is it just Dragon Age Inquisition?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's it's like okay, sure.
It's a new gen. Got to start over. like it's not Infamous 3. It's Infamous Second Son.
Yeah. Well, they didn't really show us this game, so it's hard for me to get excited about or even make any kind of judgment. They tease it.
It's almost impossible
more
to get
Dragon
excited
Age.
about it. Yeah.
I was trying to think about other
I'm sure some people can
RPGs.
find a way. Fans can find a way.
What are we missing? What else?
Are any of the commenters excited about Dragon Age Inquisition? Please
Are they
say
lighting
yes.
us up now?
Not a lot of RPGs have come up actually in this comment section.
Final Fantasy 14 is an RPG, but whatever.
Yep.
It was there.
Lots of
And,
MMO
no's,
style.
lots of big
Yeah.
no's.
Well, there's also Final Fantasy 13.
No, it wasn't there? Okay.
Did we
Lightning
want to talk about
Returns.
Beyond Two Souls?
Do we? Is that where we put
is
that in?
lumped in?
Did anyone get a good look at? On this group.
I think
know
Ryan did, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I have not been hearing good things about
It looked.
Beyond Two
It
Souls.
was
I
just
was-
weird. Like it
what am I
suddenly
looking
went to
at?
like Afghanistan or something.
Yeah,
like
I said in my
military
E3
I think
shooter
Syria?
territory.
Went to Syria?
Syria, is that it?
Yeah.
Either way, it was like okay, Beyond is now Call of Duty-ish kind of.
And then
going on.
she went behind a wall and then sent her ghost pal to go give a ghost hug to somebody and then
Right.
slowly killed him and then went back to her and I'm like that's like
But
the
I'll freely
this is
admit,
the
like
slowest
I haven't
before
seen as
shooter I've
much of
ever
Beyond
seen.
as I want. So
So yeah, just interesting to lump that in here. I guess it doesn't really have a genre, but it is I guess one of the more expected games of the show. But yeah, really weird showing.
There's not a really strong showing, I guess. I think people would look at this and a lot of people are like, "Wait, what is this?
Was it
Is
playable?
this even the same game?"
It
It was,
actually-
it was
They had
playable,
demos
yeah.
out again. One of those time things. I would have liked to have played it. I would like to be able to comment. I have things to say about games like Heavy Rain and things like that.
If you could choose between playing Witcher 3 right now and Beyond Two Souls, what would it be?
I would strongly prefer to play Witcher 3.
Okay,
I
well,
almost
that's-
said
that's
something
your
different.
answer.
Definitive statement. Are we willing to proclaim a best RPG of E3?
No, I mean,
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I mean, of our game of the show nominees,
we've talked about Witcher an awful
The
lot.
Witcher's
Yeah.
on there.
I think
so
that would
it's
be
probably
kind
would
of
be
by
Witcher.
default.
Sure. I mean, Dark Souls was up there too.
Is it?
Okay, no,
Yeah, it
apparently
is.
not. No.
It is. It's one of the
Witcher
best.
3 Best RPG of E3 2013.
Thank you so much for keeping on track of that. I really appreciate it, Kyle. So let's get into the awards that we've actually already given. So we're going to go through our Monday and our Tuesday awards, as long as we still have you guys on the table, as I like to say. So we'll start off with the one that I'm usually responsible for every year, Best Trailer. And I didn't, and there wasn't really that one trailer that jumped out.
You picked a very long-winded Metal Gear trailer, which I thought you kind of hated.
It turned out being the best trailer of the show. Every other trailer was kind of like, it was just, I don't know, everything was like vanilla. It just all kind of blended it together. There wasn't really that one, like, and I was thinking about it today. No one came to me and was like, did you see that trailer? I never heard that once the whole time.
That's
you
a
know,
fair point,
and,
actually.
You know, a lot of times, because I'm usually gone Monday and Tuesday, you know, doing live stuff downtown, and I'll come back Tuesday, like, exhausted, just like, okay, what happened? And usually some people will bring up stuff I hadn't seen or some trailer that didn't show up. Because like you said, there was that extended gameplay trailer for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
And nothing really stuck out. So we were, Final Fantasy 15, Metal Gear Solid 5, and Smash Brothers kind of rose to the top because they seemed to be, a lot of the announcements, a lot of the cool stuff people were talking about was actually contained within the trailer. And it wasn't just an announcement. And Metal Gear had everything within kitchen sink. I mean, there was gameplay and cinemas and character reveals and blood pouring everywhere. But so I liked it. I'm usually the one who has to come up with lists. I usually see. Are you a big trailer watcher, Justin? Do you go through and watch all them trailers?
I watch a few.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an easy way to, okay, I only have 5 minutes. What were the games E3? You're like, click, 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 and just get a few trailers. But yeah, Metal Gear was a pretty nice trailer. It's a very handsome looking game. For all the silliness that they put into it, they still put things where you can think.
And maybe that's what it is.
It's really cool.
I think, a lot of the trailers that go on seem to go on for no reason, where all the information that was being given in that trailer I thought was really interesting, and I just really like the way they packaged it. So, next-gen trailers from Kojima, I'm a big fan. Best Vita game, which I know is the one award people are anticipating more than anything else, clearly, ended up being Tearaway, or Tearaway, if you watch the Sony press
Yeah,
conference.
that was funny.
Tearaway.
I think it was Jack, right? Jack Tretton said Tearaway?
I think so.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Well, I mean, you should know.
Tearaway is one of those games that's like really strange because we were also talking about like Yoshi's New Island, right, which is probably the next one on the list. You know, they don't look as good on a video as they look on that screen. You know, they're just like blowing them up just is a disservice to those games.
Yeah, good point.
And that's kind of the thing is like, you know, Yoshi's New Island has like this extra depth to it, like there's like these big like thick globs of paint, you know, and things like that. And Tearaway, you know, this whole idea that, you know, they're actually have a team of people that are making things out of paper so that the paper in the game looks like the thing that they made. It's really interesting.
Well, I think the clear win every time with handhelds is a game that's built for that handheld. This is not coming out on any other platform. Is it on PS3 too?
No.
Okay, yeah, so it's
I
just
wouldn't
on
know how
Vita.
they would do it.
So yeah, you were talking about Dragon's Crown. You're going to play that on PS3. Killzone Mercenary, like the whole time you're just going to be thinking, like, I could be playing, Shadowfall instead of this, and it's just like, like really trying to be another game. Where Tearaway is its own thing. It's its own experience. Like all your fond memories of Tearaway are going to be exclusive to that until it's uploaded to PSN or something when it gets super successful. But yeah, I think that's always
Be sure to
the
share
winner.
those with Kyle once you have them. He'll be interested to see your Tearaway memories.
Your little Tearaway videos.
Yeah, exactly. See, I can record them. Yeah.
Tearaway did a really cool, it's like hey, I want you to take a picture to show how determined you are to get to the top of this mountain, and I do that, and then later on in the level, that dumb picture I took shows up on things.
Yeah.
Like, it does some really fun Vita-only things. It's I like Tearaway.
You were a fan of the billboards with picture, faces on. Was that Forza Horizon that had that? Where you
No,
could
that
drive through
was
billboards?
Need for Speed Most Wanted last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just smashing through people's faces.
Yeah, you were a fan of that. It's good, yeah. Hitting faces, seeing your own faces. And then 3DS game ended up being Yoshi's New Island.
I didn't actually get to see any of these games. I didn't play them
Yeah,
myself, so I kind of had to.
I played Yoshi and I played Zelda. I think me and Mike have the back and forth on Zelda because I really like the mechanic where you're like you turn into like a mural or whatever and walk along the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike's not as big a fan of it, so I think that's where the debate kind of came down to. It was more like, where's the common ground on the 3DS?
Are you telling me Yoshi's New Island won Best 3DS because Mike didn't like turning into a painting?
More or less.
Is that what it came down to?
It's that close sometimes, Scott.
All right.
Well, I mean, there are some other weird things with that game too, right? Like the weird flat polygons representing an old cool 2D art style, and kind of visiting the same overworld, even though there are differences. I think it's one that we'll keep an eye on, but it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, well, actually, that particular style is false 3D, and so it's really weird to put that into add depth to that. The Link to the Past type, like looking down, but it's also isometric at the same time.
Yeah,
I thought that was always so strange to me. So I can kind of get where that is. All right, I'm not going to argue.
3DS in better shape than the Wii U at this point, software-wise.
Right now, yeah. I mean, I think one of my issues with the Wii U is not just that, there's sequels or whatever, but it's the fact that so many of these games are announced and like 2014. I'm like, no, we need Wii U games right now,
right
before these other consoles come out. Not when I'm like flooded with a bunch of games in February.
And and I think the 3DS is getting a really good rep, like Luigi's Mansion, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That did really well, and I don't think when that was first announced, people weren't like, yeah,
Justin's the only person at this table that's not playing Animal Crossing.
This is
Animal
true.
Crossing is
This is
great.
true. My 3DS is on the table, which the 3DS would be my 3DS game of the show, because it was the only game I was actually playing while I was working on our E3 coverage. And press conference, I mean, do we even need to talk about it at this point? It was
Yeah.
clearly Sony. I mean,
Yeah.
Can any of us remember any time something was that one-sided from E3 ever? Where I remember, like, when we were wrapping up downtown, I was like, oh, well, we don't have to debate that list. That'll be nice. We can do that real quick. Mega 64 was joking about it on our stage. Like, by that point, it was already decided.
Yeah. I know as far as, like, that kind of a reaction out of people, it really reminded me of, like, being in the crowd for when Twilight Princess was revealed. Because everyone was like looking at this trailer, like, what is it? It's like, oh, that's Zelda, and then people just freaked out. Like literally crying in the crowd. I know Bill Trinan. I've never seen it, but I know Bill Trinan has a video like where he was just taping people's reaction.
That's fun.
I would love to see that. Most disappointing is always a fun one to do, and this year was really interesting because we didn't give it to any games because there wasn't really anything
we went
that
with
like really stunk up the show. It was just like really weird PR stuff and companies doing weird things. And yeah, the big thing was that we didn't get hands-on. So
I know.
I didn't really experience that because I don't generally go to the show to play games officially. Like I'm not going to be called on staff.
Well, I
so.
mean, it's funny because this is a year where like we've changed up how we do things a little bit. Like before, it was like always have the developer place because he knows what he's doing. He'll make the game look better. And this year, like, no, we want to get more hands-on impressions. And then we go in there, like, most of the people aren't letting us get hands-on impressions.
So a couple of live demos during press conferences totally effed. Do you think that's something to do with why there weren't a lot of playable demos at E3? Like, maybe these games just aren't ready.
Yeah, well, like I said before, like, a lot of this stuff is open world.
Yeah.
Like the behind-the-scenes demo I got of Assassin's Creed, which I will guess they will release at Gamescom, knowing Assassin's Creed. Then they'll show everybody. I basically was sitting next to a guy, and they put on headphones, and he had like a mic, and he was like talking to me through the headphones because of how loud their booth was.
That's weird.
And like the controller's right there, he's playing it, and I could ask him to do things, but I couldn't actually control it myself.
Yeah. I saw some demos crash themselves. As long as someone's playing it live, there's a possibility that it can crash.
Yeah.
And I experienced. I did get to play Thief.
Crashing is not unusual at E3, though.
And the game crashed a few times.
course.
So yeah, I mean, it's not that they're worried. I think that the game will crash, but sometimes you just seems like they could have let us play Smash Brothers. You know what I mean? Wouldn't
I
that have
crashed
been-
Yoshi's Island, and they were like very reassuring to me. They were like, "It's okay. This is fine. This is
Not
just
your
a
fault.
demo. We'll have this fixed." I'm like, "Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry
Did they
about
bring
it,
you the
guys."
candy? Did you get the little candies?
No, what
They
candy?
had like sweet tarts, like Mario sweet tarts or something.
Maybe if you hadn't crashed the
don't tell
game, you
Kyle
could have had a sweet time.
Yeah, I did not get anything like that. No.
So what was worse, the Battlefield 4 crash or the Assassin's Creed 4 crash?
Battlefield.
What do you think?
Oh, the Assassin's Creed one.
Oh yeah, Assassin's
Battlefield didn't
Creed.
even start though. I mean, for a while.
But then it did, and then it was great.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Assassin's Creed was just the start.
But it was interesting because one was right at the end and the other was right at the beginning.
Didn't
It's like, what would
Destiny
you
did some really weird stuff, too?
So the fates say that Justin, your game has to crash during a press conference. Would you rather have it crash before you even play anything, so you're just standing on stage like an idiot, like the controller going out during the Call of Duty thing a couple years ago, or would you rather have it crash right at the end? So we've already seen the whole demo and it's amazing. We just don't get the last because that Assassin's Creed crashed with like 10 seconds to go. I mean, it was right at the end. So beginning or end? What do you pick?
I guess I would just say fates. Well, whenever you want it to happen.
Yeah, either
Throw
or.
my
Doesn't
hands up.
matter.
Sounds like a real Justin kind of answer.
What
I
do you
feel
think?
like Assassins was
I don't know
like-
why I
You gotta
tried.
accept the things you can't control. You know?
Assassins wasn't
true.
just at the end though, right? I mean, it was like catching up here and there. I mean, it was like really kind of
but I mean the
ruining
hard,
the
hard
whole
crash.
rhythm
the,
of it. Yeah.
the we're moving on.
Yeah.
Fade out. Next game. What do you think, Kyle? Before or after? What's your?
Definitely before. So you get everyone nervous, and then they're just solid. They're just really excited. They're like rooting for you almost, like a slow clap for the Jamaican bobsled team who's like
Right.
walking. You've crashed, and now you're just picking up your bobsled and you're walking across the finish line. If you crash early, I think that's the best way to
So
do
you
it.
get the pity there at least, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our one to watch, which we gave 5 nominees because it seemed to be one to watch seemed to be the kind of theme. Like, okay, we're gonna announce this. You're not gonna hear about it again for another year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we sort of like are always working out like what does this category mean, and this time like I think we really like nailed down like, okay, this is a game that was more or less revealed at E3.
Not playable, just the kind of teased.
Yeah,
Mostly.
but I don't think it was even a matter of it being not playable because what Killer Instinct's on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Killer
that was
Instinct,
that was
Kingdom
very
Hearts 3,
playable.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It actually looked better than the trailer looked. So you know, it's one of those games.
But it was a short announcement, only 3 fighters announced, you know, so there's a lot more to learn, and I think that has a lot to do with it. It's like, wow, the order looks great. That's it. That's all we can
Yeah.
really say. We don't know absolutely anything about it. We haven't seen any gameplay.
It feels also kind of a game that could maybe go either way. You know,
Right.
you have the feeling, can they pull this out and make an actual decent game?
And for me, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars 1, I think, because it's just one of those times where like an IP and a developer just goes together, and you're like, that has to work. You know, like that seems so obvious that DICE would go in and do
Well,
such a
and
great
people have
job.
been waiting for that game for so long.
Yeah, so I think where that can go, that franchise skipped a generation. So who knows what they can do, with that IP, especially even adding more stuff, maybe even DLC, or it might be coming out when Episode 7 comes out. So there's all of that tie-in. So I just think there's a lot of stuff we're anticipating hearing about. So that's why that got bumped up.
I should just say something. We got called out.
Uh-oh.
Battlefield 4 didn't crash. Apparently, that was just like the Xbox AV. That was on their end of the
Oh, okay.
people doing the whole event.
Okay,
okay.
yeah, that's why I couldn't remember a Battlefield crash. So.
Yeah.
It just stopped. I mean, that was
that
and
was-
that. And well, it was just interesting because even though it wasn't a crash, they took more time. Like there seemed to be. I mean, it was during the the Xbox press conference too, which
yeah.
probably had a lot to do with it. But
So funny.
it seemed like people were kind of respectful of the Assassin's Creed. It was like, oh, okay, well just go. It's like somebody crashing during figure skating, just like, okay, just go off stage now. Whereas Battlefield, like, there's nothing he could do. He was just standing there staring at everybody and actually said like, I'm okay. Like had to say something to the audience because it was so tense.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting moment. Yeah, I mean, if it nothing against Battlefield again. These shows are tough to put together. I imagine these press conferences. And finally, best new IP eventually went to Titanfall, which of course is getting lots of accolades all over the place. And we've already talked about it a fair deal. Anything else? Anything else talking about Titanfall as an IP just by itself that's interesting, comment worthy? Anything?
What's interesting about Titanfall is that does not have a character you put on the box.
Right.
Yeah. And he would have just a helmet on if there was.
Exactly.
I assume
yeah.
a Titan's going to be on the box. Though.
It
Well, there was a
Yeah,
guy
it's
in the
about
trailer.
the giant.
There's a guy in the trailer that's burying somebody, and he's like, "I'm sorry you died, but I'm gonna get in my Titan and go kick some ass." Like, who's that? Is that just some guy or?
I think there is
something.
some kind of story context in there. I think they'll have some, like, Brink tried to do it
Oh,
to have a
right, yeah,
multiplayer
it did.
only,
Killzone
where
3,
you're in these
I think, did
scenarios.
some of that in the multiplayer as well.
Yeah, so there is some kind of thing, but yeah, it's not really a game you get excited about for the setting, Although it looks okay,
It's interesting to look at
I
these.
like giant robots.
I would imagine we'd see a Titanfall 2 before a Division 2 or Destiny 2. Probably we'll never see a Destiny 2 because it'll just be Destiny and then Destiny.
They add
comma,
another
whatever.
planet, yeah.
Just the add-ons and stuff. So, as far as a new IP, it's probably some. Are we boring you, Mike? Sorry, just got a big yawn from.
Got a
down
big
the
guy for a director. Yeah.
But I think Titanfall obviously will probably have the most longevity as a franchise, and I think that's kind of what we look for with a new IP. Like we'll be living with this series for a while. I think that's safe to say. So how are we doing socially? We actually unfortunately have to say goodbye to you, Daniel Bloodworth, and bring in more blood, different blood from
I'll
the
be back.
the editorial. Yeah, exactly. You're coming back. Socially, what's going on? What else did we screw up?
So here's no, we're doing okay. People are insisting that it's multiplayer only. Like we get that. We're saying that it may be
That's what we
some
said,
story
yeah.
elements within the multiplayer.
Yeah, look up Brink, everybody. Use Google.
Let's do a Twitter question. Let's do one of these while we're switching desks. Do you think Nintendo is freaking out now post E3? All their announcements seem to fall relatively flat. How do they proceed? And that's from Mike and Murdoch.
I don't think Nintendo freaks out about anything.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think Japanese companies freak out about stuff. I think they're pretty slow to change things and stuff. I mean, yeah, I think Microsoft is freaking out. I don't think Nintendo's freaking out.
And I think they can probably look at like their YouTube hits for the Smash Bros. Trailer and like Mario Kart, and they're probably like, oh, people love us. We're okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they would perceive that they did E3 poorly.
I think they would kind of look at themselves internally and not necessarily take everybody's opinion as something bad that they're doing. I just don't think they listen to public opinion.
Yeah.
Certainly not from the U.S.
That's exactly what they've done this generation with the Wii. So it seems like they're. Whoa! What's going on?
Well, as long as you've stolen the mic,
Yeah.
what was your favorite game from E3?
Oh, are we doing editor's choice right now?
We're doing your choice right
My
now.
choice. Okay.
But also, like, introduce yourself and say hi.
Hey guys, how you doing? Well, my pick, it's actually flip-flopped a lot over the course of the show. I, like many others at the show, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and I was stoked to see it finally appear. But I think the one game that really caught me off guard was Killer Instinct. Yeah, I didn't think it would be. I didn't think it would be Killer Instinct because, watching that on the stream, I was taken aback for a minute. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, they're really doing it. And step two, it was like, what? Double Helix? Who are they?
Yeah.
It didn't look good, to be honest. It didn't look good at all. But, going to the show floor, playing it, checking it out, actually getting my hands on the game, I feel like this is a legit game that people should be excited about. These are guys that really understand what the series is all about. They understand what a good fighting game should look like and feel like. Okay, maybe they don't know how good it should look. They should fix that first. But it definitely plays like a Killer Instinct game should.
Also, one of very few fighting games.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the most prominently featured fighting games in a long time. Like, it was put in a press conference,
Yeah, fighting games have kind of died down a little bit recently. It's actually kind of funny that not only are we getting this weird business model for Killer Instinct, but we're also seeing something that's happening with Tekken also. And this is the very same week of E3. They're going for this whole free-to-play
And Dead or
model.
Alive
And
as
Dead or
well,
Alive
right?
as
And
well.
Dead or Alive as well, yeah.
It's a new thing to do.
Yeah, fighting games are the new MMOs,
Yeah.
finding that business model. But yeah, it's crazy. I guess they're finally realizing that maybe the hype has kind of died down since the post Street Fighter 4 renaissance. So it'll be interesting to see what that genre is going to do in the next few years.
It's interesting. You reminded me of also that press conference moment of the two of them playing, which Marco, who's on set, so brilliantly recaptured by going to black and just showing subtitles and sexy music.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that we as journalists have made a difference in press conferences because we have vocally said, for many years that we hate children on stage doing Kinect demos and demos for kids games, and we didn't get any of those this year. And so I'm hoping that we're not going to see that ever again. And that if we actually complain about these
Good
things
job.
at press conferences, we
did
can make
it.
a difference.
Fist bump.
Yeah, man. So I have our next mission. I want to do away with, hey, Justin, welcome to the press conference. Ha, funny you should be here. Remember that thing we talked about yesterday when we were playing our video games together?
We were totally talking about that thing.
Welcome to Skype. Justin, I hate that.
Hello,
And,
bros. Are you ready to get trashed?
That's why I liked when Joel McHale hosted the Ubisoft press conference because he was kind of caught in the middle of all that
Yeah, you're
disgusting PR artifice, and he just trolled the hell out of him all the while.
It's interesting, like, the Battlefield was great because, all the people playing multiplayer, they just got down to business. You know?
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that they try to fake that. And it's clearly uncomfortable for them. It's probably really, really difficult to do and pull off, so I don't know why they even tried.
Who I think got really close was the Bungie people who were playing Destiny. That guy was almost funny.
That I actually enjoyed. I got a kick out of that because those are the guys who created Halo, and so it was kind of fun to see. Like, as dorky as that was, I imagine that is what it's actually like when they get down to play games. So that wasn't so cheesy. Again, because it's those people, like they specifically put someone on stage who couldn't play Killer Instinct well just to be jokey about it, and it's like,
Yeah.
But she
that's not
actually had to
good-
come back in the second round, but that was a
think it was
total
someone else.
disaster. Huh?
I think that was someone else.
Or was it someone else?
Yeah.
I've
It was,
tried
it was
to-
another. It was a separate.
Weren't you
woman.
paying attention? Justin?
You should leave that to the
Yeah.
comments.
Comments,
Actually-
prove me right, please.
Actually,
And that,
look at the footage.
that politically incorrect banter sure didn't help, paint the best first impression for that game either.
It was such a weird way to introduce Killer Instinct. I thought
Yeah.
I thought the announcement was really great, but the way they handled it, the fanfare was kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a game that's been missing for how many years? It's been years and years and years since the last Killer Instinct game. Probably skipped like 2 generations or so. I feel like, from a trailer's perspective, they could have had more build up to it. It was more like, Blah, Killer Instinct.
Yeah. And it's,
Enjoy.
and it's interesting that we have a lot of like sequel wipe where it's like Star Wars Battlefront. It's not Battlefront 3. It's not Killer Instinct 3. It's not Halo 5. You know, they're just like, yeah, we're this more of. And you're like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, what does that mean?
Right.
So interesting that they kind of tried to wipe the slate clean. You know,
So,
Xbox One.
Can we talk about what that type of thing will do to? So you're playing Killer Instinct online. Like I remember Street Fighter 4 started, everyone was Ken, and that was annoying.
Sure.
Like now, so everyone will be Yago.
Jago.
Jago.
Yago, as they say in the
Iago.
Latin countries.
But anyway, will you as a player find that annoying to just fight a bunch of Jagos all day?
That's going to be really interesting because, yeah, the way that they're doing it, or so they say right now, is that they're aiming for around 8 characters at launch, and how they're going to do it is that Jago will be the only truly free character. You know,
Yeah.
you could download the game, you can check out Jago, play as long as you want with him, and then from there you'll have various content package choices where, you know, do you want to buy the Saberwolf pack, and you get that character and maybe like one other guy alongside Jago, and then, you know, you could buy the other characters as, you know, as you see fit. I think that's a really risky and weird way of doing it because it feels like, you know, I can see how that works for League of Legends because you are playing on a team and, you know, you have that kind of built-in variety in terms of the roles and play styles. But then when you have a fighting game where it takes place in such a contained environment, that feels like playing chess and taking away the rook, taking away the queen, taking away the knight. It's a really different...
Just Jago, like Jago
Yeah.
versus Jago.
Yeah, like could you imagine like playing chess with just rooks? You know, that's weird, and
That's a
hopefully it
stalemate.
works.
That's impossible to do, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Let's try it after the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's impossible, Kyle.
Pop fact.
I actually, I'm going to take this moment to talk about the games that I liked.
Do it.
Because I usually don't get hands-on time because I just like looking at the the pretty lights and all the videos and stuff during E3.
The spectacle.
But I made a point to try to get in there. I used my my one Hoffman get out of jail free card, who's the producer of GTTV. Who I just called him up on Thursday. I'm like, I want to play Batman. So we met at Warner Brothers at 2 o'clock, and he snuck me in there. And it's really great. I mean, if people are worried about the next Arkham game, don't
Okay,
be.
cool.
It's super fun.
So just to bring people up to speed, this is not being developed by Rocksteady.
Right.
It's by Warner
Brothers
Brothers Montreal, who did the port for Arkham City on Wii U, correct? The Armored
so,
Edition.
yeah.
So this is actually their first legit game.
That I know of, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
it's the same game. It feels exactly like the same game.
Okay.
And then I've said this. They've said this over and over again. They're like, we don't want to change anything. We just want to take everything and make it better.
Right.
Played against martial artist guys. They were really fun. Countering moves and just adding that many more animations to the combat was really neat. Because again, that combat's like one of the big things that's fun about that game. But the replaying crime scenes was fantastic.
Yeah,
Like,
tell us
I
about
almost
that.
got like booted out of my chair because I was like, I can't stop watching this. So basically, you're in a 3D environment, and they take a scene. So in the demo is a helicopter crash, and then you just have to rewind that whole helicopter crash to see how it happened. And the elements of this replay are based on what you know happened in that scene. So as you figure out more elements, it adds more 3D elements, and you can just rewind this over and over and over again. So in the scene, this helicopter crashed and went all the way down to the street. And so you could like go up to the top of the building and see it crash again and again, and rewind it, like see the helicopter in midair, like right before it crashes against the ground, or go to the ground and see it come down.
Have they shown that in a video?
They show it in the trailer. You can see like the helicopter pilot fly out, and they show the rewind mechanic. But just being able to freely navigate that environment in 3D and kind of see like, okay, this is what happened, but this is what the computer telling me this happened.
Right.
And I imagine like following a blood trail or following something flying around through a window and then finding a body and being like, oh, okay, this is where the guy landed. Like it's a really fun, organic way to solve a crime.
Yeah, that's funny because I feel like one of my favorite parts of Arkham Asylum were those kind of little throwaway detective bits where you pick up Commissioner Gordon's cigar and you're trying to find the trace of whatever is going on in the crime scene. It's cool that they're extrapolating that into this bigger thing. To me, it sounds a lot like Murdered Soul Suspect.
Sure.
If you guys have seen demos and videos for that.
Yeah.
But what I have to wonder about Arkham Origins though is that for me personally, I like Asylum more than City, which took on the same open world feel that Origins is going for. In that, I feel like Rocksteady did a really good job of, maybe trading freedom for these really cool choreographed moments as you're taken through the Asylum. I think they're very smart, not only with how scenes played out, but the way that you would backtrack through certain parts of the Asylum, and it made it feel like you're doing something meaningful. Not just retreading. You're actually kind of taking this experience piecemeal in a very cool, directed way. So I wonder if maybe the guys at Warner Brothers Montreal are cognizant of this, if they feel like they have the means of containing Batman and the experience that goes with it in a cool way, not just making it, here's a huge slice of Gotham, let's do this police mini game over here and this detective bit over there. So that's what I hope for.
I don't think you're going to get that. I think they're definitely focusing more on the open world thing this time around.
At the same time, it does sound cool. Like they were talking a little bit about how you could have the police radio, right? And then you could pick up side missions from that. So that sounds cool to me. It sounds like they're doing a GTA thing with that.
Yeah, and organically discovering things in the environment. I could talk about this for half an hour, but I'm a big Batman nut. And one thing that I'm really excited about is that they do.
Batman.
Yeah, just me, just like staring at the camera. But they, I love that they have random crimes, so that not only, and back in like the Spider-Man
Yeah, I was
2,
about to say, the
PS2
muggings,
days,
yeah.
it was like, I lost my balloon, and this time it's like a heist happening in this specific place, and they will go to like they are doing something that is random, but it is geared towards a specific location.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is really fun. I hope they do something. They haven't announced anything like this, but they do something that's villain related. So even after I like beat up Deadshot in the story and trap him in this prison, like he can possibly break out, and maybe like the longer I take to find him and get him, like the more allies he's able to build up, or the more damage he's able to do in the city.
I think the funniest part about just all the news that came from E3 about Arkham Origins was that you were waiting for that one, silver bullet, that one, big bit of news that they had waiting for the game, and it turned out being Adam West outfit.
Yeah. And Bane, and they announced Bane.
Yeah.
Just like the most obvious.
But that's cool. It's like whatever. Like I dig those games, and I think I'm gonna look forward to it.
And I also checked out Dying Light, which was really fun.
Okay, cool.
I got a kick out of that. I mean, I was a Dead Island fan. I haven't played Riptide, but love Dead Island, and it just looks better than Dead Island, plays better than Dead Island.
This is when you're kind of running around and you make contrapt weapons, correct?
Kind of. I didn't really get into weapon construction. It was mostly the platforming and stuff. But like, there's just some things in games that are fun. Like you were talking about the dwarf, where you're like picking a guy up and chucking him. Like in Guacamelee, like that's just fun. It doesn't matter. It's always just picking up a guy and throwing him against something. And having like 10 zombies chase you and running and like jumping on a rooftop where they can't get to you, like that never gets old. I don't know. It was really fun. And there were a lot of moments like that of like, you pissed off a bunch of zombies and now you can run and like jump onto a ladder, and climb up onto something. And you didn't have that, parkour ability in Dead Island. So
it looks a lot different than Dead Island, right? Because I think a lot of some people, maybe Dead Island isn't their thing, but from hearing people talk about it, I feel a little more interested in this game. Dead Island really turned me off with all the numbers and the stats and the breaking stuff and the weirdness. But it sounds like they're doing something a little extra.
And it just looked so much better. I mean, it's still kind of like a tropical environment, but gorgeous game. So I don't know when we're going to finally see that. But those were my picks of the show. And now we're going to talk about action adventure. Yeah. We're going to get into another genre, and we have your action and your adventure. Go.
It's like every game is contained within action adventure.
It's a tough genre.
Words,
I mean, we actually just talked about Batman, so that was appropriate. So,
Dark Souls.
Again.
I think would fit in action.
Every genre. Dark Souls.
Then we should talk about Dark Souls for 10 more minutes. So Patrick, Dark Souls. What do you think?
We kind of already got into Batman with your discussion, but the other, of course, big action adventure game was Assassin's Creed 4. I dig that series, but probably not as much as I used to be honest. I do like that they've taken a pretty radical turn in terms of setting and gameplay even. From what it sounds like, they're looking to do like a 60-40 split in terms of land and kind of naval exploration, which is interesting to me. Yeah.
That's a lot.
What's funny to me about Black Flag is I feel like with the direction they've gone, maybe it would have been better as its own thing, if that makes sense. To me, I feel like Assassin's Creed, I have a heavy connotation, with cool metropolitan areas, like Jerusalem or Italy, and Rome. To do these kind of more separated, I don't know what you call them, villages, surrounded by bodies of water with ships,
harbors, basically.
Yes. It seems like it's a bit different than what you're normally used to with Assassin's Creed. I think it's cool that they're taking that risk. They're kind of taking, what they've experimented with 3 and making it its own thing. But at the same time, I would have been curious what that game would have been like had they chosen, to make it its own pirate game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to Megan Rue about how we were emotionally affected by it being called Assassin's Creed 4, not just Assassin's Creed Black Flag, because it feels like Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Yeah. It's just a number. Who cares? That has nothing to do with the game's quality or development or anything. It's just a stupid number. remember. But yeah, it does feel kind of weird that it seems like a side story. They're going
That's
back in time for the
completely
first
unfair
time.
when you were talking about how upset you are that it's Final Fantasy 15. It's just a stupid number,
Touché.
Brandon.
I'll take that into consideration. But okay, yes, that is a good point. And I will think about that. I will make a video rebuttal about that. There's no time to accurately think about that, but there could
We're live.
possibly be a point there.
Yeah.
He's gonna strangle you after the show.
Yeah. I'm probably going to play it eventually, and I haven't played a Final Fantasy game in a long time, so that'll be something. But
That's a little action adventure too.
yeah, exactly.
But what other are there any other big games?
Bayonetta?
Watch
Watch
Dogs.
Dogs.
I wish we could've played it.
Bayonetta's straight up action, I think.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
adventure there. Just
Well, I
just
mean,
action.
I think it's primarily an
Stylish
action.
action.
Stylish,
For sure.
stylish hard action.
I think it
Maybe even-
deserves to be a part of the conversation.
Sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to play it, but did anyone else?
Mike did, you know, Mike
Mike
played all
did.
these games.
And I know he likes Platinum, so he should be on later to
Yeah.
speak more about it.
It is. It's probably for Wii U exclusives. Probably the best one they've had so far, I'd say.
Oh yeah, that was a
It's
shocker.
really-
When that
yeah.
got announced.
This is a game that they're fans
Oh.
of these kind of games, and
What do you guys think of co-op in Bayonetta? Because that's cool.
That has co-op in it?
I think so. Did I read that somewhere?
Most
there's
likely.
definitely
What does Twitter
the
have to say
second
about
character
co-op?
will definitely help you out. I don't know if it's human-controlled co-op though.
I thought I read a bit where Jean would be joining you as
Yeah.
2P. So
Yeah, I think she will. She joins in during a boss battle
Cool.
in the demo. So
nice.
Well, I think
Game
that's
was-
I
game
think
was
that's a
good.
cool game to have co-op in. I think that is a cool
it would
idea.
be. It would be. I think it'd be pretty tough to make it work, just because. But you could do some
especially
really
on Wii
crazy
U,
combos with
but
two
somebody
people.
is going to have the nunchuck and Wii remote, most likely.
Yeah, the last time they tried it, I
Or-
believe, was Ninja Gaiden 3 with it wasn't co-op, it was multiplayer, but very much in the same kind of crazy action with more than one person on screen, and that didn't work out exactly, I think, the way they planned it, but who knows, maybe Platinum has a different approach to it.
Does it support other controllers? I'm hoping.
I have no
The
idea.
Wii U. Do
Oh,
we
it's
know?
got to have that.
I
Pro.
think,
Gotta have the Pro controller.
I think it was a
support.
giant
It's-
gamepad on the floor, but people
Yeah.
said no problem with it. I think it functions pretty well just as a control pad, but yeah, maybe get a pro controller in there or
for your friend.
Interesting. I saw when I saw the Wonderful 101, that actually had the controller. What did you call it? Like the
Pro
Xbox
controller?
controller, basically.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the-
I think they called it Pro.
It's interesting
controller.
that they would play that on that and not Bayonetta. Which seemed
Right.
to be-
I know you guys already went over RPG, but I feel like this might have some overlap with action adventure. What do you guys think of The Division, which they showed off?
I think it looks cool. I thought, like, my first thought was that it was Watch Dogs, basically. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's kind of different, but it was weird. Like, both of those announcements seem to be the exact same thing. They had the weird, cryptic, your world is dying teaser before they announced what the game was.
Yeah.
And then there was the big announcement, and both ended with, oh, you're in this world, and then it had the pan-out shot of, like, and other people will be there, too. So it just felt weird that it was like, Watch Dogs seems like if there was an apocalypse in Watch Dogs, it would be The Division.
Yeah.
This is if you want to play Watch Dogs with your friends and you want to see damage numbers when you shoot things. I think this
But
is.
can't you play Watch Dogs with your friends? Can't, like...
Kind of.
We don't really
Well,
know all the multiplayer stuff. They haven't really announced
Yeah,
it.
the
They-
way
they
the
revealed
angle they're
some
taking is
details.
a little more maybe like Dark Souls kind of.
Yeah.
Someone interacting with your game, not directly coming up to you and punching you in the face necessarily, but
Right.
being able to hack your stuff.
People would
Go
like
up
us
the
to talk
barriers.
about X.
X?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's there to talk about?
Should that have been an RPG or
That would have been an RPG.
Yeah.
RPG.
Sorry, we missed it.
Sorry
but,
we missed it.
Well, it
It's,
didn't-
it's,
just-
it is
it was
action
just- we don't
adventure
have
too.
time
All
to
these
Just the
games.
trailer. I mean, it looks
yeah.
looks exciting. Looks pretty.
Yeah, hang out here for a bit. I'm sure Mike will have a lot
Rise.
to say about it. That's definitely his show, game of the show, I believe. Rise?
Rohan.
Rise.
Rise.
All right, let's talk about Rise real quick.
Okay.
I think it demoed. It wasn't the greatest demo, but I think that maybe the game is a little bit more interesting than it seemed.
Gatzer says, Rise looks awful and these guys
Yes.
know it. I hope they don't waste
Thank
their
you.
breath in my time.
Is that why they're not
Yeah.
talking about it? I don't know.
Okay, no need to mince your words. Rise is bad.
Well, I had a publisher demo it to me. The developer, sorry, at Crytek demoed it. He's like, yeah, people really seized on this QuickTime thing. Wow, it's like they're just laying into us, but it isn't like that. And he's like, check out this combat, and he did a bunch of parries and time parries. Is like, the better the timing on your parry, the more window you have to attack a guy. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fairly interesting. He's like, it's not just fight one guy and move to the next point and fight it. The demo is really scripted, and I believe a little bit of it.
A little scripted.
Part of it, huh?
It was practically press X to conquer Athens. It was that linear. It was like crazy scripted. It was bad.
I just
I'm
don't.
sorry.
I just don't think anybody's having like because there's being interested in a game and being like, oh, that could possibly be interesting. I didn't get a chance to play it, but like, oh, yeah, I'll be interested to see more of that. And feeling in your gut like, wow, I'm really excited to play that. I can't wait. I got to get more information. When is this coming out? I'm going to subscribe to that newsletter. I want on information on this game, and I don't think anybody is having that with Rise.
Yeah, I'm being a little mean.
There's that one guy in the comments that keeps asking about Rise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being a
he
little
could be
mean.
asking because he doesn't like it.
That person's probably
I think he
so
likes
bummed
it.
now.
He's
Yeah.
probably-
Oh, it's Three Fiddle. I thought Rise was awesome.
I'll still give it the benefit. Like I said, I'll still give it the
perfectly
benefit of the
fine,
doubt. I think it's really tough at E3. You have so much pressure to just show your game, show this tiny chunk of your game, and just sell everyone on it. Or you could get total backlash.
They showed the wrong
if you-
side. They showed like the ass cheek. They should have been showing this. But to be honest, I'm being like mean. I'm being a little funny. I really like Crytek. I enjoy Crysis a lot. I think they do have a reputation for making cool games, but Rise didn't demo that well to me. It just didn't look like it was doing anything
Well,
interesting.
you need to focus. I mean, wasn't the QuickTime thing the first thing we saw? Wasn't there was like the
all
statue
over
of
the
the guy
place.
being rebuilt, and then
It was all over the
then it
place.
was the cinema of him yelling on the ship, and then they jumped off the ship, and then it was QuickTime event, like first thing.
There's an obnoxious fight, where it was like 30 seconds of just like prompt.
Right.
Prompt.
So that's
and
the
then
first
there's like
thing
raise
they're
the
showing
shield, raise
of
the
your
shield.
game. It's like, here's our game, boom, and the
Cardio.
first thing we see is like, okay, that's the game, and then later you're like, well, there's more to it. It's like, then show the more to it first. Show the best thing you possibly can.
Press X to show release date.
Well, did you know, Patrick, if you're marching with shields, you can choose to not bring up your shields and then just get some of your dudes killed by arrows?
Oh no!
Do you,
It's a
do you
choice.
think,
It's a choice.
Do you think
That
the
weighs
game
heavily
turned
on
out
me.
that way because it started off as a Kinect game?
I still think this is super early,
That's right.
and that maybe you have something there, but I would expect the game to look different the next time they show it. I feel like they'll be like, okay, look at the criticisms we got, look at what people thought. Maybe they'll do something a little different. I don't know if they can dramatically change the entire game, but I'm not going to totally hate on it. Just partially.
I can see the puns in the review now. Like Rise doesn't meet Rise to expectations.
Rise falls.
Rise falls.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so
There's
this
the
is why we
headline
didn't
now.
talk
Write
about
that in.
Rise. It
There's
just
the headline,
kind
Rise
of
falls.
snowballed downhill.
So let's go through the rest of our awards that we've already given out.
All right.
On Wednesday, we gave out the best. Oh, and I just want to speak for a moment that I am so happy that we're doing exclusives this year, which is different from how we've always done awards.
Switching it up.
That is cool, yeah.
So we have different winners. We don't have somebody that a game like Titanfall or Witcher,
Yeah,
Watch
Titanfall
Dogs
would
or
have
something
won
that just
probably 6 or 8
you know,
awards.
I haven't
steamrolls
checked out the
everything.
comments yet. How are people liking that?
I don't know. I have not had the time to go through every single video's
Oh.
comments. How are
Busy
people
making
liking
these
it?
awards.
Oh,
yeah.
like the.
If people say they like it or don't like it,
Yeah,
let us know,
wh-
Kyle.
what
some
does the
people,
chat say?
Some people are unhappy about that. There's only 3 nominees,
Mm-hmm.
and they're unhappy that there's not the description after each game is announced. Like,
Yeah.
Company of Heroes 2. Company of Heroes 2 had
Right.
this kind of.
That's fair, and I think our response to that is the way that we've been doing it the past years. Like, I'm sure no one wants to hear us explain why Resident Evil 5 is awesome 10 million times.
Yeah,
And
And
exactly.
and that's the other thing. If a nominee goes in through multiple videos, then
Yeah.
like possibly the same writer has to be like, oh god, I got to write
Yeah.
another paragraph about Watch Dogs. Well,
Yeah.
it's it's cool and there's stuff So it's kind of nice just to get to the point, and then it's kind of like how
Yeah.
our reviews are now, that we've kind of taken out all the chapter breaks and really
It's-
made it one big discussion instead of a segmented
it's
thing.
very Academy Award the way we're doing it now.
We've got the gold-plated lower
Straight to the
third and
punchline.
everything.
Classy.
We're
Yeah.
wearing suits. Brandon and I are wearing suits.
Super
I know,
classy.
for real. Yeah, Patrick, what happened? We sent you the email.
Did you get an email, Patrick?
Where I come from, this is formal wear.
Okay, there you
so
go.
I'm offended by your snobbery right now.
Yikes. So on the exclusive train, we have Best PC Exclusive, which went to Company of Heroes 2. And WildStar and Total War Rome 2 were also in the noms.
What is WildStar?
WildStar is that
It's an MMO.
Watch the
Pixar-ish
trailer.
animated
Watch the trailer, I would
MMO.
say.
Okay.
It's a very cartoony style of an MMO. which
Yeah,
sounds really fun.
This is a category that looked a little weird, just because definitely now more than ever, developers are going for consoles,
Right.
and PCs are kind of getting the leftovers. Not a whole lot of really great exclusives anymore, at least this year. But at the same time, Company of Heroes 2 is awesome. Like, people have been waiting for a sequel to that game forever. They're doing a bunch of cool things to kind of turn the RTS on its head a little bit. One neat thing that stuck out to me was they're treating Fog of War differently. It's more of a line of sight thing now, rather than it being just an amorphous black goo that surrounds your units. So that's interesting, and also weather has a big effect on the game too. For me, I was personally pulling for WildStar because you and I are both huge MMO fans,
Yeah,
and Carbine has some pretty cool people working there. A lot of the ex-vanilla WoW guys, I believe, currently have residence there, and you can definitely tell with influence. It does look very World of Warcraft on the surface level, and I think our loop just went out. But
Loops out. Everybody loops out.
Loops
Loops
out.
out.
Loops
Loops
out.
out.
pay no attention. But what's cool about it to me is that, on the surface level, it is kind of taking on a similar approach to World of Warcraft, but they're doing it with a very cool approach to progression. You're able to choose the type of experience you want.
Yeah.
I feel like it's taking a lot of the best elements from stuff like Guild Wars 2 and mixing it in, with some of the action bits from Terra, and it's all thrown together in this weird, cartoony, Pixar-y type of game.
And I like the cartoony vibe. I think MMOs
yeah.
are kind of on the like the ass end of graphics performance as
Sure.
far as games are
Hey,
concerned.
the
And there's
man, he's ready
tossing
to
water around and stuff. It just
shoot
but
some water.
but again, it's like when you're wondering like, did he play that segment? Is that a cinema? Like, where does the gameplay start
Well,
and
it leaves
stop?
a lot-
There's just a lot of questions.
Yeah, it
and
leaves a lot
stuff.
of questions on the table, but it still makes you interested to see.
I think that's why it makes you
Right.
interested, because you want to fill in those gaps and really learn more.
Yeah, but Titanfall, I think, was what I actually saw being played, and we did an episode of The Depths talking a little bit about Titanfall. But, I mean, that whole entire game that we saw, that multiplayer match was incredible. Like, it was all real-time. It was great. So that was probably the best thing that I actually physically saw at E3. What does it say on your little sheet? Where are we going?
I got my rundown here. I
just
just want to
talking
make
shooters.
sure. We're
What
going
shooter
to
have
be
we not
talking.
talked about?
Well, I just wanted to make sure to get to their stuff. Actually, just swapped those around. But yeah, we can talk about shooters now.
Yeah.
Which we've already talked about shooters a great deal. But
Just
we
haven't
talked about
brought up,
Destiny.
You like shooting
Battlefield.
things.
Haven't talked about Battlefield yet. Haven't talked
Oh,
about
man,
Call of Duty
Battlefield. Oh,
except
yes.
to honor it in the Nakatoon Arena.
Yeah.
And we've certainly talked about Titanfall a little bit. So yeah, Battlefield's good to bring up.
Revolution.
Battlefield 4. Levolution, is that the
It's going to be a
term?
Levolution.
Oh, okay.
Where did that come out? Did that come out of the internet?
No. That's part of
That's
that's
their-
part of the and
That was
like
one
the
of their
debut.
buzzwords.
It was
It's
their
like-
own buzzword. It said
So that's their
Levolution.
Drivatar?
Almost,
Yeah,
it's
that
their
is their
Drivatar.
Okay.
Almost in Kojima
Woohoo.
fashion. It's like revengeance. It's like
Transfarring?
Levolution, transfarring. Yeah.
We should keep a list here. Okay, so Levolution.
Levolution.
right.
I'm hoping that means you're going to be able to destroy everything.
Yeah, I mean, how much of that was smoke and mirrors, though? Like,
Well,
I
no.
hope-
Like the main building that you see get destroyed. That's that's set. But
Right, but when you see the soldiers, like, they run into the building, they're like, oh my god, let's get into the building, we've got to get in there. And they go
Scenario-wise,
and they
yeah,
go
how
to the
much was set,
elevator,
yeah.
right? So let's think about this from, like, a game design standpoint. So you have the bottom floor
Yeah.
of this building, right?
And then you have the very
That's what
top.
you can go inside, and you can go inside the elevator, which takes you to the top floor. So you really only have two levels,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
right? Top
Right.
and bottom. So, I mean, how much of that are you actually going to be able to destroy? And can they keep something like that consistent across all of these different multiplayer maps? Or is it just going to be a bunch of skyscrapers toppling?
No, yeah, I think, if every building, whether it be 70 stories, which really is just 2 stories, or 3 stories, which may actually be 3 stories, you can level it out,
Right.
Levolution, right? I totally believe in it. Bad Company did it pretty much, I'd say like 90 to 95% of every building, whether it be, 1 floor or 3 floors, you could completely destroy,
Right.
as long as you took out all the, the base of the structure. So, I think that's totally possible, especially with this whole next generation push.
Matt's dropping some facts on us here.
Uh-oh.
There are only 2.5 playable levels in the skyscraper. and
2.5.
Every map will have 1 capture point that is changeable.
Is the elevator the 0.5?
Yeah, I don't know what a half floor is, but apparently.
It's,
You can look into, but you can't. You can't shoot stuff into.
I don't know.
What is that?
Oh, and is the half the very
Thermopolis?
top the ceiling?
Yeah,
They have a half floor.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Maybe it's just the
you have
roof.
to crouch
Yeah.
the whole time when you're running through it.
Yeah.
It's a tiny level. Tangent. Sorry.
I want to play. I want to levelize some stuff.
Okay, no, sorry, Matt, give us more
Oh,
facts.
oh.
Half a floor is a floor with some stairs. No,
Oh,
okay,
in betweens.
so-
Yeah. Stairwells. Okay.
Thank God for clearing
Thanks,
that up.
Matt.
I'm, to that point, though, I'm really excited for Battlefield 4. I think they're definitely bringing a lot to the table that games like Call of Duty Ghosts is not, even though we haven't seen multiplayer yet. I think it's a step in the right direction. Everyone who loves Battlefield gets that familiar Battlefield experience, but they're at least trying to do something a little bit new with the new tech that they have.
And there's a commander now. Again.
Yeah,
Like,
and-
that's pretty.
No,
cool.
that's it.
I
yeah,
really
Commander's
like
great.
that.
Yeah, I haven't played a lot of Battlefield franchise except for 2. I played a ungodly amount of 2.
If you want
And
a
Commander
sneak,
was the win. That was
possibly
really
a
great.
sneak peek to like how that works, play Natural Selection too.
Oh, okay.
Natural Selection is great. It is a really good game, and they actually pioneered that kind of first-person commander in charge experience. So How many times have I said experience yet?
That's a lot. It's
Kyle,
been 6
Is
times.
6?
Any
Okay.
shooters that people are bringing up that we haven't talked about? Because I got
Wolfenstein.
Battlefield 4. Yeah, Wolfenstein. Was that?
They all know. Look,
Sure,
they
it could be
all
fun.
want us to
I
make
mean,
fun. of Call
I'm
of
curious
Duty.
about it.
Well, let's talk about Call of Duty
Oh,
because
man.
Dogs.
I'm the
their
resident
own
Call
event.
of Duty guy, in the
yeah.
office, and to everyone, I saw Call of Duty. I saw the demo behind closed doors. It was 3 single-player levels, one that has not been shown publicly, and I was very underwhelmed.
So still to
by
wait.
it.
Still more to
Underwhelmed.
come. Something that you've seen that people have to wait for. So
No, yeah, there's still
There's still
one
one
level.
more
There's,
that
you see a
audiences
snippet of
have
it.
to
It's,
wait for, yes.
Yeah, it's the skyscraper level where you're going on the skyscraper and you're on outside. You have to cut your way in. You go and you shoot a bunch of guys.
Yeah, 3.5 levels of skyscraper.
Yeah, but I was very underwhelmed by it, and I could see it on everyone's face
Oh, weird.
at the
Maybe
Activision booth.
is it
which
definitely
was
more an issue
interesting.
of
You mean
more
the
of
people
same?
demonstrating it?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
weren't- they weren't into
It was
their own
really
game?
bizarre. Like it was a really bizarre experience because generally every year, there's been a lot of buzz. There's been general excitement. But this year, I mean, it just seemed like a ghost town.
Yeah, 2 years
Thanks,
ago.
Daniel Kaiser.
2 years ago, the Call of Duty trailer was one of the biggest moments from E3. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, in the
But-
interest
That
of
was a
time,
huge-
we always want that, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Is like, it just seems like more of the same. And I know Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 3, that was definitely more of the same. But they're not bringing it. Now's the time to bring it. It's next gen.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, guys.
I mean, it's being outshone by things like Titanfall. And like
Oh, yeah.
those are like just kicking the doors down of,
sure.
of the hype train. But it's like when one of your biggest points of that reveal, like the Call of Duty Ghost reveal, was fish AI, and people rip on that or whatever. But and then it's also like, and we're giving you a dog. It's like, cool, a dog, and what do you expect is gonna happen to that dog?
Yeah.
Oh, is he gonna die?
Right.
What's gonna happen? And then there's like, I don't know, there's parts in some of the gameplay demos that they've shown is you can like kind of remote control a dog. It's like, oh, you can murder people, first person biter.
Which
Yeah.
is great.
Again, next gen, not really what we're looking for.
Right. I mean, games like Titanfall and what Battlefield is bringing to the table, like that to me feels like, all right, this is a step towards next gen.
So-
Granted, we haven't seen multiplayer yet. Who knows what they're going to do? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until we see like the full suite of the game. But my initial impression is they're not bringing it yet.
Anybody on Twitter giving them the benefit of the doubt? Is that happening?
Oh, not very much at all, no. Here's the thing. They want to hear about Garden Warfare, which I think was an
Oh, I
interesting-
saw a presentation.
I saw Garden
Yeah.
Warfare actually.
I saw
And
the closed presentation.
That looked really
of that.
fun. The only bad thing I could say about Garden Warfare is I couldn't tell what the hell was going on. I mean, like anytime new spawn of zombies came from some direction, I mean, the environment is so colorful. There is so much stuff going on that it could be a little bit chaotic. But,
Yeah, but
animation hilarious. Like if you like Plants vs Zombies at all, like there's no way you would.
I mean,
have fun
you
playing
look
that
at that and you see it's like, this looks like a AAA game. Like it's Frostbite, for God's sake. I mean, it's crazy. It felt like a third-person like MOBA to some extent. Like you're controlling one character like Smite. Kind of, you have like these enemies coming at you from various points.
I'd say it's more akin to like a horde mode. It seems like there's 4 players just
Yeah, it's kind of like
building.
Orcs Must Die or any
you're building
like tower defense that
you're
in.
building turrets,
Yeah.
which are some of the things that
Right.
familiar for.
But you can become
Plants
a
vs.
turret
Zombies.
yourself, and
and
that
you can
powers you up.
based on what class you are. So you're free to walk around, but you can also plant depending on if you're like the Bell Sprout or whatever.
Right.
Is that a
Like
Pokemon?
Bellsprout. It is like a Pokemon, but they look the exact
Okay,
same.
dang it. Anyway, but yeah, like if you're that, and you can plant yourself, and you can become like you can shoot like 3 times faster. Either
Yeah,
way,
it's so cool.
the presentation I saw was like a 15-minute presentation, so a lot longer than what we saw actually on the EA press conference.
Right.
At the EA press conference, but I gotta say, visually, that game is impressive. Like
It's
it
beautiful,
looks,
yeah.
it looks like a DreamWorks game,
Yeah.
like a DreamWorks film that you're playing. They showed it on this huge like 80-inch or 100-inch TV. I can't even remember. It was huge, but like just the little details, like this little sunflower. You can walk around as the sunflower. Every petal is just like with
yeah.
every step. It's so cool.
A lot of people like openly laughed out loud when we were watching when I saw it, and it I think the sunflower like shoots like laser beams out of its mouth, and like when it reloads or something, it has a little animation where it just like bobbed its head back, and like people lost it, and it's kind of refreshing like to laugh at something when there's so many like Titanfall, Battlefield, everything's so serious.
Like if you strip away like
Stripper?
if you get a stripper, if you strip away the textures, the color, all the polish. I mean, you have a shooter at its core, right?
Yeah.
You have a third-person shooter essentially. So it'll be interesting to see, how this game, because its accessibility on the visual sense, transcends a different audience.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a dad with his kids playing that game probably. You're gonna get it's a lot more accessible than Gears of War is in a multiplayer sense. So I think they're doing something right. And if it gets us excited, just think about everyone else.
And I think they said 24-player multiplayer when I was there.
Did they?
I don't know how that works out, but yeah, I think he said 24.
Does
When I
the
was
other
there.
team
I don't
get
know
to
about
play
that.
as a zombies?
I have no idea.
I haven't-
They
I
were
haven't
not
heard
showing off
anything.
multiplayer,
Huh.
but yeah, I heard
Interesting.
him mention that. So,
It was limited to 4 when I was
but
there.
I think a Titanfall shooter of the show, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
gauging over our hype, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems to be the consensus. Sure.
Sweet. Okay, so we've already gone through our editor picks, and now I'm going to kick out one of you guys, and we're going to
man.
bring in Rob Manuel, who's going to talk about the indie presence at E3 this year. So anything while we're covering that, nothing's going on over here.
Sure.
Ignore the other camera.
We can do another Twitter question. Connect mandatory. PSI Move is not. The Wii U is in purgatory. What do you expect from motion gaming in Holiday 13 and beyond? That's from Matthew Medberry.
They didn't really say a lot about motion.
Exactly.
They didn't say anything about the move anywhere at any time for any game, right?
Although it's like incorporated into the controller directly now. They
Right.
didn't say anything about it.
Nope.
It's so strange.
And somebody brought up that was interesting that not a lot of gamepad functionality with the Wii U. Not a lot of stuff mentioned, and a lot of the games, the demos we had on the show floor didn't really showcase something. When I was there at Infinity, one of the person was showing off Infinity on the Wii U, and they weren't even sure. Like, yeah, I think there's some functionality or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
a
just
bummer.
not. Yeah, it's not something that people are necessarily jumping up and down.
And we're getting a lot of all caps
adapt.
comments. These are the most angry people about what we're not talking about. They want to hear about the evil within, and they got to hear about Pokemon.
Okay.
so you want to take?
Well, that brings me to Rob Manuel, has joined us magically.
Wow.
Are you a big Pokemon fan, Rob?
I actually am a big Pokemon fan. I really do like the Pokemon.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've played since
Friendship.
Yeah,
There
it's
is.
true.
Yeah.
We sit right beside each other, and
Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon is a great RPG. I think it's one of those games that has sort of proven itself like over time that it has like a very solid core, as well as some of the most complex mechanisms behind just like the breeding.
Yeah.
I think it's
insane.
just like if you talk to someone about breeding Pokemon,
Just like in real life.
yeah, it's true.
It's such a pain in the ass, man.
We've been going on 2 hours, just to let you know, gents. And I love like,
Okay, so
no,
okay.
we'll move on.
Pokemon?
We'll move on. Okay.
Okay,
we'll
go.
move
Well,
on.
let's see if we have to move on. I mean, I got all day. I'm just saying.
I was just like the all caps comments are the ones
Yeah,
that get
so
to me.
Evil Within real quick.
Yeah.
I want to see survival horror come back. If you like Evil Within,
Right.
check out Outlast.
Outlast.
Check out Outlast.
I had
awesome.
the best experience with Outlast at the show. I was actually standing behind a friend of mine. She was playing it, and I was talking to the director, and all of a sudden, like, she turns a corner, and she gets, and she sees, like, the monster there, and she jumps up, like, a foot.
in real life.
In real life, and she slams against the wall because it's like right beside her, and she almost puts a dent in it. It's so big, and she's sort of like the wall pushes her, and she sort of topples into the middle of this crowd that's already there.
Yeah.
and we're all just sort of like holding on to her,
God.
and she like pulls off
her face.
No, pulls off the headphones, and she's just like, I'm done.
Yeah, they should have those kind of games in like
crazy.
padded cells.
And
like-
they completely said there was like this is not the first time we've had this happen. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, when we first showed this off, we had it in a very enclosed space.
and someone died.
And someone took out the whole booth because they could not figure out how to get out of the booth fast enough.
That's great.
I could just picture somebody dropping their controller, reaching behind them, just shooting themselves in the head and just falling over.
And supposedly they had
Then
like,
they know they did it. Then they know they tweet. They're just like, I gotta tweet that right now. Somebody just
win! Man just kills himself while playing Outlast. Win.
terrible.
It's true, but it's
But,
great. It's really a great. It has a great feeling. It has a great look. There's a lot of people who from AAA studios are actually working on it, as well as our Science of Games. We had a Science of Games about insane asylums, and actually the people from thwack were working on the game while we were talking about it. So you can actually check out one of the guys behind the game on our Science of Games.
But specifically, you're here to talk about
Indie games.
which had a pretty good presence.
It
at the
had
show,
an
you know?
amazing presence. I'm very happy to see indie games getting more than like 30 seconds or like a montage somewhere in the press conferences. Like you said, like it was really cool to see like all the people playing on the stage, all the different games that they were sort of showing off, and like Sony being very proud about like these are your games. These are the games that are sort of unique. They have like a very different sort of appeal to it. Like this is not going to be your first-person shooter. Like a lot of them were like Octodad was up there, and I mean like oh my God, they're showing off Octodad. I was so excited.
That was pretty
Because that
wild.
was one of those games that, and a couple of other games that were up there were like Raise the Dead. Was also a very cool sort of game where you play as a zombie and you're trying to gather up your little zombie horde, and you're pushing forward and you're taking out villagers. It's really cool. And it's really cool to see games that I've been following for so long to sort of all of a sudden get sort of this people looking at them, people actually seeing what they can do.
Put in a press conference
And put in
in
a
front of
press
their
conference.
largest audience of the
Exactly.
year.
Do you think that's a reaction to kind of how indie games achieved a new level of prominence in 2012? I mean, like the VGA Game of the Year went to
Right.
Walking Dead. Your Journey
Right.
got so much more acclaim than a lot of other AAA games.
I think for me, like indie games have always been that answer to people's problems that they've had for so long, because everyone's tired of like sequels, everyone's tired of $60 games, everyone's tired of like having to go out in games. They want something that's quick, that's for them. They want something that's unique, and it's just like that's indie games. Like you can get the fact that
by that you mean Indiana Jones games, because
this
I'm
is true as
completely
well.
in agreement that
That
they're
would be
great.
great as well. But to have something like that, to have like a State of Decay do
Yeah.
so well,
Yeah, really,
like,
really well.
amazingly well during like an E3 where like usually you send games out to die during this point,
Right.
but that does so well, and it just came out of nowhere. Once again, that was like a game that I've been watching. It was like, holy, what are you guys doing? So, I actually think we do have. I have a short thing of nominees. If we want to roll that footage.
We do,
Do
and
we?
we will.
Okay, cool. One of these. So I put together a list of nominees, going through it. Hopefully they're going to come up. Oh, there we go. Starting out with Titanfall, which is actually an Ouya exclusive.
Titanfall?
Not Titanfall. Towerfall.
This is
Jeez, I
I
got
was gonna say Titanfall looks a little
Yeah, I
different.
know. Towerfall, Ouya exclusive. You get a certain number of arrows to fight with your friends, and then you run around and you try to kill them. Which is it's super fun. It's like one of these couch games. Like one of the big things that's going on in indies right now is these couch games that you have your friends together and you're playing along with each other, and you can really just sort of yell at each other. The next one is Super Time Force. Once again, this is from Cappy. Actually, they showed this at the Twitch booth. They've done a lot of different things. It's sort of like Contra meets strategy. So you
are all
get
of these playable characters?
all those are not just playable characters. All those are you.
Whoa.
So those are all the ways that you've been playing the game. So think of it as Super Meat Boy meets Contra.
Very cool.
The next one, of course, Transistor, which is really cool, from Supergiant. Once again, they have such a great eye for design, such a great beautiful music, as well as they have this great mechanic where you can go in and you can sort of plot out what you want to do and then put it all together in just like one go. Your sword actually walks you through the story. And he'll talk to you because it has the souls of like killed people. Of course, the next one, The Witness, one that we heard about earlier. This one has, I believe, Jonathan Blow says it's up to about 400 puzzles, 500 puzzles, something like that. A lot of the puzzles you'll be able to do like in quick succession, but every puzzle you do, you sort of are learning a bit about the language of the world around you, and so if you can sort of like figure out the game. Oh, and finally, the one game I think is my indie game of the show is Ho Hokum,
Whoa.
which is this beautifully designed sort of open arts flying thing where the game just sort of like throws you into the middle of a world and says go. So if you are someone who just wants to go in there, figure out what the problem is, and solve it, you can do that. If you're someone who wants to just fly around and have fun, you can do that as well. And I think
I'm getting a nice Yellow Submarine vibe.
exactly,
from that game,
exactly.
yeah.
And there's so
Little
many,
Loco Roco in
and there's
there.
so many like great things. And every level you go in there's always something different that you're doing. Like the level they were showing at E3 was one where you had to go through and you had to pick out seeds, where you had to plant the seeds for trees, and you were trying to bring back the forest. Another level that I've played through was one where there's these people out on vacation and they all want to get to a swimming pool, and so you have to bring all the people to the swimming pool on your back as you go along. And there's like different things you can find. And they also announced during Horizon, which was another sort of press conference that just started this year, started by a bunch of indie developers. They also announced that they are bringing in like their own sort of music. So they have like some professional musicians starting up like their own CDs and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
For it as well. And I'm very much looking forward to the whole thing.
Rob, everyone wants you closer to the mic.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Right at the
This
end.
is
So-
good.
well, I'm gonna cut you off because we need to bring in one of our last editorial figures, Mr. No, we're not bringing in Mike Damiani. We gotta wrap up.
What?
They're shutting the building down.
Whoa.
The entire building is being closed down to make room for a pet carnival.
Well, we were going to
Pet
bring in Mike
carnival. I
Damiani
love
to
the
talk
pet
about
carnival.
something, but screw Mike Damiani. We are going to move on to our game of the show. So do we want to talk about nominees first, or we just want to get into it? Okay, so we can talk about nominees really quickly. For the game of the show, we have nominated Dark Souls 2, Destiny, Titanfall, Watch Dogs, and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. These are definitely the games that we heard more being talked about than ever, than any other game, and that's actually kind of why we changed our rules up. Usually we have a very strict must-be-played rule,
Yeah.
and I think we had games like Witcher, and we had games like
Titanfall.
like Titanfall. That everywhere I went to ask people about the show, all I heard about was Titanfall. Every single person I talked to was just like, "Oh my God, that was the game!" And it obviously had to be a nominee, and we couldn't play it, so we had to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, but we still kept it towards like it. Even though it may not have been a situation where we could play it, it still had to be like a playable demo. Like somebody was playing it in front of us. They didn't just show us a video reel, right?
Right.
So I think that was, maybe it's kind of still we're sticking to our guns as much as we can.
Yeah, I think if we left those games off, the Titanfall and Witcher, our awards would have looked
It's-
really weird.
It feels weird, yeah. And that's, we kind of want to get rid of the weirdness of a lot of things. Like, one game being nominated for Xbox and PlayStation and everything. Like, that also feels kind of weird. It's nice to, have every award give notice to something special. So that was kind of the idea that we had. And without further ado, we will finally get to the point and unveil our game trailers E3 2013 Game of the Show. Enjoy.
Play the game. What's it like to play the game? What type of magic box is going to play my game? What matters is how you feel when you play the game. How we all feel when we play the game. Play the game. Good morning. There is no game to play.
This year's E3 was a transformative year, with the new consoles stealing the show. A lot of great games made their debut, while others made their triumphant returns to the industry's grandest stage. Old favorites were revived, and many surprises were to be found throughout the show. To reflect the tumultuous nature of this year's E3, Game Trailers has modified the selection process for the most prestigious award, the Game of the Show. To ensure that our list truly reflects the games that defined this year's show, we expanded our list to include 5 nominations. Each game in this category was either playable by Game Trailer staff or demonstrated with a verifiable live gameplay demo. What we saw this year inspired hope and excitement, but one game pushed harder than all the rest toward the future of gaming. And the nominees are
Your mission is vital, Guardian. If you succeed, you will become legend. If you fail, this city will fall, and the last light of civilization will go out.
But there's no turning back. This is our land. This is our land. And I will fight for it.
You think you're untouchable? I'm here to shatter your illusions.
Some fight for glory, justice, or gold. I fight for those I hold dear. I'm Geralt of Rivia, the Witcher.
and the winner is... To hear its creators describe it, The Witcher 3 sounds like it could be the most ambitious role-playing game ever conceived, set within a strikingly realistic open world where a complex, multifaceted story unfolds, where your actions as a player affect the world, changing the fates of individuals and even affecting the natural ecosystem. After witnessing a truly impressive demo, we're just about ready to believe everything they've said. And have you seen the luxurious coat on that next-gen wolf? Certainly The Witcher 3 was not the only game to impress us. We saw Titanfall's rather straightforward concept blossom into an incredibly dynamic action game that just happens to be a first-person shooter. And both Watch Dogs and Destiny offer tantalizing glimpses at what may be the future of online play. But The Witcher won the day, demonstrating that it has every intention of living up to its incredible potential and grand promises. With its confident air and noble bearing, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is our E3 2013 Game of the Show.
Play the game.
All right, there it is. Witcher 3, E3 2013 game trailers, game of the show. I was very surprised. All of the Titanfall stuff and the Witcher stuff went completely over my head because I didn't get to see either game. So I had to take all of this on word from other people. But I know what you think about Witcher 3 because you were one of the biggest supporters. Justin, what do you think?
The game, I really wish I would have seen that demo because I heard so many good things about it. It just seems like these guys have set the bar so high for what they want to do. And we saw solid evidence that they can do it. This is going to happen. And, you know, I hate to say, I really think this game is going to be awesome before it comes out, but it really feels like, you know, this is just going to be a great game. They just have to keep following through and make it
And that's
happen.
what E3 is about. That's why it wins E3 Best of Show. Is this game looks like it's going to be awesome? We're not. Yeah, that's part of it. I love that.
Well, you know, you don't want to be tricked.
The reaction has been incredible. I think people are very excited about Witcher 3 being the pick, which was interesting just because, like I said, everybody I talked to mentioned Titanfall. I mean, that definitely seemed to be like the buzz that was floating around the show. But I'm excited. Have you played any Witcher games?
I've played zero Witcher games.
I have not played any Witcher games. I think this will be the one. Should I play Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 before I jump into it?
I would, Witcher 2, it's definitely the easier one to jump into, but Witcher 1, like once you get over the opening curve, there's things in there, that's still really cool that, even the Witcher 2 doesn't have, so.
What would you say the magic is that CD Projekt Red has? Like, how does that team pull this off?
I don't know about the magic of like how they pull it off, like on a visual level, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel like they have like a really strong sense of like what people want out of like a story-based game and like choices that actually matter, and like they go toe to toe with Mass Effect and Skyrim, like I was saying before, like they want to kind of one up those things, and and I really think what they've done in terms of making choices that have good and bad consequences and aren't about like being as blue as you can be or as red as you can be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what those games are about to me.
I'm really excited. Wow. I mean, like I said, I like open world games. I like RPGs, and I just didn't check out Witcher. Did Witcher 1 ever come out on consoles, or is that still
No.
on PC?
Yeah. The Witcher 2 only came out on 360 like a year later.
Do you think we'll ever get like an up-resed Witcher console update or something now that we're going into the next gen?
I kind of doubt it. I mean, those guys still, they're working on
team,
Cyberpunk,
right?
so.
It's a really PC kind of game as
Right.
well. It feels like a PC game, Witcher 1.
So you think that'll probably be the best console to play Witcher 3 on, or system, or
No,
thing that plays games?
I think that they learned a lot with the 360 port, and there's a mod that just came out for Witcher 2. That's even improving the combat even more. So I think that they're doing a lot that will make it easier to pick up for console players, and they want people that haven't played the games before to be able to check it out and just jump right in with The Witcher 3 and go full on.
And where is that going to be day one? Is that going to be on everything, like on Xbox
I think
One,
so. I mean, they haven't
PlayStation
announced
4?
release dates, but yeah, I think that's the plan.
Cool. Well, that's really exciting, and I think a surprise. Like I was surprised when that got when we put everything up to a vote and it came out to Witcher 3. But again, all these games are amazing. So much stuff to talk about E3. If you guys have been following us for 2 hours and 20 minutes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
And even 2 hours and 20 minutes of all of us getting together, we didn't even get Mike Damiani on. We didn't even talk about Wonderful 101 was something that they suggested. Any other games we missed? I mean, there's so much stuff at the show. There were PlayStation 3 games in the Sony booth I had never heard of before. I mean, there's just so many things.
Puppeteer, yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, there's
We
so
didn't
many
talk
things
about
going
Puppeteer.
on. So it's really tough to wrap it all up, but I think that is not only going to wrap up this, but all of our E3 coverage. And next week we can finally move on to what else is going on in games other than what happened at
E3
E3.
2014!
Yeah, and the winner is everyone! So thank you so much for joining us for our live coverage, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the live stage, and of course to E3 next year. And take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.